Good morning, dear colleagues, friends. Please take your seats and we'll start our session today. I think we all enjoyed yesterday evening, and once again, thanks to our hosts and Doris especially personally and other colleagues. So I think it's better to be quite energetic this morning and to carry out our work. I'd like to ask you to adopt the agenda. It's distributed in the hall. You all have that. Is there any objections to our agenda? Not the case. Thank you. Agenda is adopted. Now we will continue our debates, and we have a speakers list here. So I'd like to ask the first speaker this morning will be Mr. Anton Babic from Croatia. Please. And speakers list is closed. You can understand that. When you're pushing button, you have to wait a little bit, and then it will work for sure.
Okay. No, it's okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, dear colleagues, here and now is the best opportunity to speak about the status of the Croatian people in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Connected with this are the upcoming election in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which will be held in October this year. The main principle of democratic election is the possibility to freely participate in the elections, both as a voter or a candidate. But this is not the case with the Croats in Bosnia and Herzegovina. As we all know, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a federal republic that consists of two entities and the three constitutive nations, Serbs, Croats, and Bosniaks. While the Serbs have the majority in Republika Srpska, Bosniaks and Croats share their part of the federation. However, we are witnessing how the Muslims Bosniak majority is oppressing the Catholic Croatian minority. For instance, the Croatian people are not able to elect their own representative. The Muslims elect the Croatian representative instead. Another example is the city of Mostar, in which the elections were not held since 2008. And do you know why? Because the majority in Mostar is Croatian and they would naturally elect a Croat for the mayor, but the Muslims are blocking this democratic process. And this is all happening before the eyes of the international community and OSCPA. The situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is not good. All of us should be worried about it. OSCPA must send more observers in order to eliminate any kind of incidents and irregularities. All delegations should put in their primary focus Bosnia and Herzegovina, bearing in mind the suffering this land had to go through in the 1990s, and unfortunately the painful outcome can still be seen this day. That is why we need to actively participate in the process of finding a solution for Bosnia and Herzegovina. All our foreign affairs efforts and international organization must be directed towards a sustainable and fair political system, particularly regarding the situation of the Croatian people, because they are being marginalized at the moment but will be outcasted entirely if something is not done. And that must not happen. We must not all of that. That is the way I call on OSCPA and their observers to closely monitor the upcoming elections in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but especially for the following electoral district like municipality of Stolac, the town Mostar, and the municipality of Vitez and Zepče. We must preserve the democratic principles on which our society and civilization rest upon. Without a fair and equal approach to every constitutive nation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are betraying these principles. Do not let this happen. A stable and balanced in Bosnia and Herzegovina means a stable and balanced in Europe. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, sir. Another speaker, Ms. Anastasia Kara from Greece, and followed by our Vice President, Margareta Zederfeld.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, in our third General Committee, the migration crisis was really high in our agenda, and this is why I wouldn't like to refer to this crucial topic again, as long as it has been thoroughly discussed and analyzed. Instead, I would like to analyze some points of view in order to support the main aim of this Assembly, which is to involve all the participating states more in the resolution of European political and security issues to increase the responsibility and influence of members of Parliament. Unfortunately, most of the countries members of the organization face common issues, such as propaganda and spread of false information, lack of reliability of the press, fight against corruption, violence against women, security threats and challenges. In addition, in recent months, we have seen many conflicts between governments, lack of dialogue and compromission, and tensions that threaten the stability of Europe. This is why we need to enhance the role of parliaments in implementing our organization commitments, following the principles found in the Helsinki Final Act and other OSCE documents. First of all, I could also not avoid to refer to the arrestment of the 2 Greek soldiers that have been kept in jail in Turkey for almost 5 months now. Our neighbor insists not to follow legal proceedings and does not respect the human rights and the legal guarantees in international law. Allow me to underline that Greece hopes and believes in strong and constructive dialogue that will contribute in a real way to resolving this kind of crisis in accordance with international law. We cannot ignore that despite calls from European Union and NATO officials for the soldiers' release and Greek government's efforts to secure their return, they are still detained in high-security prisons in Adrianoupoli, which causes serious problems between the stability in our region and enhanced concern over the negative impact of this case on Greek-Turkish relations. This is an example in which conflict between states could have been solved peacefully on the basis of mutually agreed rules, cooperation implementing the OSCE's commitments. Dear colleagues, human rights and rules of law must be upheld from all favored states, especially those who belong in the same parliamentary assembly, such as Greece and Turkey, and we should all convince each other that a dialogue is the best way to overcome differences and build mutual trust among the organization participating states. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Margareta Zederfeld, and then dear Doris Barnett, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I will start to say, let us remember that today is the 33rd anniversary of Srebrenica massacre in Bosnia, a genocide in Europe in our time. This atrocity should serve as a reminder to us of our responsibility to respond to threats to security and human rights, so that it does not happen again. Not today, not tomorrow, not in the future. Then I will continue to speak about the war that goes on today in Europe. In Ukraine, a neighbor country, a part of Europe, there is a war going on. There is another country which part of is also in Europe that doesn't respect Ukraine's right to its country, to its border, to its people, to decide about our own rights. There have been going on negotiations which both parts have accepted, the Minsk Agreement 1 and 2. The OSCE have observers. If you read the notice from OSCE, you could see that there are on daily basis, violence going on. And there are also sanctions, financial sanctions from European Union, from US. But nothing happened. This violence from Russia are still going on. There are treaties, there are international agreements. I can just say, as a member of parliament, as vice president of OSCE, that I really, really urge Russia to stop this violence and sit down and try and work to find a solution that responds to the agreement that's already done, the Minsk Agreement 1 and 2. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Margareta. Before Doris will intervene, I'd like to welcome Secretary General, they're sitting in the same row, Thomas Greminger. It's our pleasure, dear Thomas, that you are here with us. And he will, of course, deliver later on his speech, and there will be questions and answers, but I'd like to underline a very good cooperation between the Permanent Council, Executive Branch, and we really appreciate that you're taking part in this very important gathering. Please, Doris, the floor is yours.
Sehr geehrter Herr Präsident, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, ich hoffe, Sie haben den gestrigen Abend gut überstanden und sind einigermaßen fit für unsere letzte Runde hier. Wir hatten eine gute Tagung, wobei wir es uns nicht einfach machten. Wir haben hart um die Texte gerungen, die wir jetzt verabschieden werden, ganz im Sinne von Helsinki. Wir müssen Spannungen beilegen. Wir müssen Krisen überwinden, wie seinerzeit auch. Wir haben den Kalten Krieg überwunden, 1975, aber es hat gedauert und nach der Überwindung haben wir Berlin als Ergebnis. Wir können heute wieder durch das Brandenburger Tor ganz frei schreiten und die Welt hat sich ein Stück weit geändert. Und an dieser Stelle möchte ich mich nochmals bei denen, die das möglich gemacht haben, das waren die USA, das war Russland, das war Frankreich, das war England, nochmal Danke sagen. Denn ohne deren guten Willen hätten wir das nicht geschafft. Wir haben das Pariser Abkommen. Das hat uns dazu dann ab 1990 dazu veranlasst, dass wir gut leben konnten. Wir waren im Taumel der Wiedervereinigung, im Glauben, die Blöcke überwunden zu haben. Und politisch ging es ja in die richtige Richtung, gerade auch mit unseren östlichen Nachbarn. Aber wie heißt das? Es gibt ein schönes deutsches Sprichwort. Das heißt, wenn es dem Esel zu wohl wird, geht er aufs Eis tanzen. Das heißt, wenn man keine Probleme hat, dann schafft man sich welche. Dabei hätten wir die alle vermeiden können, wenn wir uns nur etwas mehr angestrengt hätten, wenn wir dem anderen mehr zugehört hätten, wenn wir vielleicht auch die Empathie aufgebracht hätten, uns mal in den anderen hineinzuversetzen. Ja, wir hätten viel vermeiden können. Aber stattdessen haben wir uns anders entschieden. Wir geben jetzt viel Geld aus für die Verteidigung, wobei wir das Geld eigentlich besser einsetzen könnten für das Wohlergehen unserer Bevölkerung und auch für die dritte Welt. Und dann hätten wir auch viele andere Probleme gelöst. Aber was soll das hätte? Wir müssen jetzt nach vorne schauen, denn der Moment ist ja vorbei. Deshalb finde ich, ist es Zeit, mal innezuhalten und sich zu besinnen, was unsere Vorväter und Mütter 1975 eigentlich wollten. Wir können die Uhr zwar nicht zurückdrehen, aber wenn wir in dem Geist von 1975 uns nochmal besinnen und sagen, da müssen wir anknüpfen, da müssen wir voranschreiten, dann können wir von Berlin aus auch ein Zeichen setzen. Gestern Abend bei unserem Treffen in der Parlamentarischen Gesellschaft hatten wir Tische und Bänke. Und auch runde Tische und eckige Bänke und eckige Tische. Und an jeden Tisch passte immer noch einen. Und es gab für alle genug. Es ist auch heute für alle genug da. Wenn wir uns nur anstrengen, können wir in Frieden mit allen gut zusammenleben. Und ich würde mir wirklich wünschen, wenn wir von Berlin aus dieses Zeichen setzen könnten und sagen, lasst uns besinnen, lasst uns nochmal zum Geist von Helsinki zurückkehren. Wir können es, es liegt in unserer Hand, in Ihrer Hand. Wir alle sind Parlamentarier unserer Völker und deswegen können wir auch ein Stück weit verändern, wenn wir es nur wollen. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, there will be a speaker from Malta, Godfrey Farrugia, please.
President and colleagues, first and foremost, I would like to thank our German hosts. We parliamentarians should be the force of reason and not support the force of treason when it comes to European values. Mr. Chair, I state this in reference to the migration dilemma, and particularly to all asylum seekers who we are all duty-bound to protect. OSCE EPA has debated, adopted numerous resolutions, and prepared several reports on this particular facet of migration, all of which highlight the importance of guaranteeing international rights and fundamental principles. I ask, what have we achieved? Are we really achieving the stated outcomes? Mr. President, action speaks louder than words. The OSCE needs to improve its track record, and I emphasize OSCE, I'm not referring to OSCE EPA. The OSCE needs to improve its track record when it comes to the implementation of the resolutions adopted by this Parliamentary Assembly. One final word. I cannot fail to praise governments who do away with their populistic agendas and find ways to protect their sovereignty while doing what is righteously correct by taking a humane approach when dealing with the plight of asylum seekers. It is high time that we truly acknowledge the dignity of the person from which all human rights arise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Godfrey. And now, Ms. Lena Nazarian from Armenia.
Dear colleagues, as many of you know, in April and May of this year, large-scale demonstrations and acts of civil disobedience took place in Armenia. Eventually, they reached their goal, which was regaining people's power. As a result, the parliament had to elect the revolutionary leader of this movement in the position of prime minister. We call this movement in Armenia a revolution of love and solidarity, since it has made sure to achieve its goals in peaceful and constitutional ways. The new government of Armenia has brought a broad agenda of reforms, including fight against corruption, recovery of economic life, reform of electoral practices, public education, public health, and so on. Still, it should be noted that the electoral reform is the most urgent reform that is expected to ensure further progress of the country. The new revolutionary government will resign after amending electoral code, and new elections will form a new parliament and new government. The promise and the task are that this time people's right of forming their power through free, fair and transparent elections will be realized, and new government will reflect voters' will. I hope the OSCE observation mission will also record significant changes in election process compared to previous years. We are determined to make sure that this process will be not just a step forward compared to previous elections, but completely different from the previous ones. The peaceful nationwide protest and the legal solution of the political crisis come to prove that Armenia has achieved a new level of democratic commitments and will never turn back from this progress. It is crucial that democratization process took place in the rest of our region too. As I said, Armenia has got the chance to enforce its commitment to human rights and to universal values, strengthen civil institutions, economy and security, and reduce corruption and environmental risks. Now in Armenia, people are expecting great and important changes in their lives, and the new authorities have promised not to keep them waiting long, as they deserve the best. I hope that our new democratic agenda and our achievements will be in focus of your attention and will be supported by our international partners. Thank you for your attention and all the best to all of you.
Thank you very much. Of course, we will very closely cooperate with the Armenian government and society, and in the nearest future there will be a visit to Armenia. Thank you. For the next speaker, I'd like to announce Stefana Milanovic from Serbia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, good morning. I want to congratulate, first of all, to all three rapporteurs for objective and good committee reports. But also, I would like to use this opportunity to commend excellent report on human trafficking issues written by our colleague, Mr. Christopher Smith. And I want to point out a few facts about this global challenge. Combating trafficking in human beings is one of priorities of all countries, particularly due to the fact that the combating is considered with regard to the criminal law and from the aspect of the basic human rights violations. This requires engagement and coordination between all state institutions and civil society organizations, and it entails a cross-border cooperation as well, particularly in the area of mass migration. This massiveness as the main feature of current migration flows, and the fact that migrants stay shortly in the states of transit are new challenges for combating and preventing trafficking in human beings. The new challenges are also facing the states of reception that, besides inclusion and socialization, are facing this issue as well. Colleague Smith, in his supplementary item in paragraph 9, mentioned the Republic of Serbia, among others, as a positive example in respect of cooperation between civil society and inclusions of NGO sector in various governmental programs aimed at educating the youth about human trafficking and the risk involved. I would like to avail myself of this opportunity to emphasize, as an argument in favor of the phrases expressed to Serbia at international level, the contribution made by our government and NGO sector. Recently, Ms. Ivana Radovic, the head of policy and learning in Astra, one of Serbia's grassroots anti-trafficking NGO, was awarded a Trafficking in Person TIP hero by United States Secretary of the State. The Department of State also upgraded Serbia to Tier 2 on this annual TIP report as a reflection of the work that Serbian government did in 2017 to combat and suppress human trafficking. Anyway, for Serbia, and I'm certain for the whole Balkan region, this topic is very important, and we are supporting all documents dedicated to this issue in OSCE Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Stefano, for these remarks. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Emanuele Scagliuzzi from Italy.
Grazie Presidente. Prendo la parola oggi in rappresentanza della delegazione italiana di cui porto il saluto. In queste settimane la delegazione si sta rinnovando dopo le elezioni parlamentari dello scorso 4 marzo. Sono state elezioni che hanno modificato profondamente, come credo sia noto a tutti voi, il quadro della rappresentanza parlamentare in Italia. Da qualche settimana è attivo un nuovo governo. Io come esponente del Movimento 5 Stelle faccio parte della maggioranza che sostiene questo governo. Un governo che da subito è stato definito un governo del cambiamento. Un cambiamento sostanziale, atteso da molti anni dai cittadini italiani su tematiche come lavoro, sicurezza, gestione dei flussi migratori, spesa pubblica e qualità della vita. Naturalmente, voglio dirlo con chiarezza, la vocazione internazionale dell'Italia in favore del dialogo, la pace e la protezione dei diritti umani resteranno obiettivi costanti e definitivi. Sono orgoglioso di poter ricordare di aver promosso, in occasione delle elezioni parlamentari in Italia, il monitoraggio elettorale, che si è regolarmente svolto nelle forme scelte dall'OSCE, dalla nostra Assemblea parlamentare e dall'ODIR. Infatti, i principi di libertà e democrazia debbono valere allo stesso modo per tutti i paesi, anche per il mio. Mi è sembrato particolarmente importante ricordarlo nell'anno di presidenza italiana dell'OSCE, della quale ha voluto dare testimonianza domenica mattina alla sessione di apertura il collega Guglielmo Picchi, sottosegretario agli esteri del nuovo governo italiano e per tanti anni apprezzato componente di questa assemblea. Credo di poter dire che questo periodo di presidenza italiana si stia dimostrando estremamente utile e produttivo per l'instancabile lavoro dell'OSCE in favore della pace e della democrazia. A questo proposito vorrei citare la conferenza permanente per la regolazione del conflitto in Transnistria, che ha avuto luogo a Roma lo scorso 29 e 30 maggio. Al centro della discussione un pacchetto su questioni molto concrete, economiche, umanitarie e della circolazione. Il tema della Transnistria è stato richiamato anche in alcune delle risoluzioni supplementari di cui abbiamo parlato nelle nostre commissioni generali. Ho voluto fare questo breve riferimento solo per sottolineare l'importanza delle sedi multilaterali, in particolare dell'Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE, per la risoluzione dei conflitti. Non è sfuggita a nessuno di noi la preoccupazione manifestata in questo senso dal Presidente del Bundestag, Schäuble, e dallo stesso Presidente federale, Steinmeier. È una preoccupazione, cari colleghi, che è anche la nostra. Occorre infatti ribadire che vanno valorizzate e protette le sedi di incontro e di dialogo parlamentare. In questo senso, come molti colleghi hanno sottolineato nel corso del loro intervento, è importante far giungere a tutti i colleghi dei nostri parlamenti il contenuto delle nostre discussioni. Occorre farlo in chiave moderna, per punti, con efficacia e immediatezza, usando i mezzi informatici e digitali, sottolineando con forza che questa sede è la sede della discussione pacifica e dell'incontro fra sensibilità diverse. Proprio qui a Berlino basta fare una visita a quel meraviglioso museo a cielo aperto che è il Checkpoint Charlie per rendersi conto dei rischi del conflitto ideologico e anche dell'importanza del dialogo in sede multilaterale, perché è in queste sedi che si stemperano divisioni e conflitti attraverso la conoscenza reciproca. Solo una parola conclusiva, ora per ringraziare il segretario generale Roberto Montella e tutto lo staff dell'Assemblea parlamentare e soprattutto vorrei ringraziare i nostri meravigliosi ospiti tedeschi, il Presidente del Bundestag, la collega Doris Barnett e la straordinaria organizzazione e la calorosissima accoglienza. In questi giorni abbiamo sentito il calore latino di questa meravigliosa città. Grazie Presidente.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we are also greatly value Italian chairmanship's active engagement in activities in OSCE region. Now, I would like to announce another speaker. It will be Ms. Mossleth from Norway.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the summer of 1975, I played football every day with my friends just over the Arctic Circle in the north of Norway. always there were some of us kids who wanted to be Kevin Keegan, the famous Liverpool player from the UK. We didn't know what happened in Helsinki that summer. We never played that we were politicians. None of us wanted to be Helmut Schmidt, Erich Honecker, Gerald Ford, or Leonid Brezhnev. But these politicians were among the 35 who signed the Helsinki Final Act, the fundamental agreement about human rights, freedom of media, respect for borders, and abstinence of violence in conflicts. This is the foundation for the OSCE today. The next step was the Paris Charter in 1919. It starts so lovely. A new era of democracy, peace, and unity. And it means that the members are going to build, consolidate, and strengthen democracy as the only system for governing our nations. And these democracies are going to be built on free and fair elections and human rights. The year after that, in 1991, the OSCE PA was founded. And one thing is absolutely true today. In our area, we need OSCE PA as on one team that can fight for security and cooperation. Mr. President, the kids who are going to play football in Europe this summer, inspired by the World Cup in Russia, can discuss who is going to be Harry Kane and Denis Cheryshev. But we, who are politicians, must concentrate on doing our job. I am sure Mr. Kari Hendriksen will be a strong voice. Then girls and boys in the future can play football in security, peace, and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind remarks. Next speaker, Mr. Jabarov from Russian Federation, followed by Olga Belkova from Ukraine.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы исходим из того, что наша совместная работа в Ассамблее способна придать ощутимый импульс сближению позиций государств по всем измерениям безопасности и сотрудничества в Евроатлантике. Думаем, что препятствием для равноправного и взаимоуважительного диалога являются застарелые, во многом навязанные, как правило, ничем не обоснованные клише и фобии. Полагаем, что путь к более полному раскрытию роли парламентов в рамках ОБСЕ лежит через совместную работу над поиском коллективных ответов на общие угрозы и вызовы, а также накопление позитивного опыта взаимодействия по объединительной повестке дня с практической отдачей. Осознаем всю сложность ситуации и глубину противоречий в области европейской безопасности. Кризис системы безопасности в Евроатлантике не возник на ровном месте в 2014 году. Он нарастал постепенно в течение 25 лет после окончания Холодной войны. Со своей стороны, мы на протяжении многих лет делали все возможное для выстраивания в евроатлантическом регионе архитектуры равной и неделимой безопасности. Настойчиво, но безрезультатно призывали партнеров к честному и равноправному диалогу. Практическая реализация принципа неделимости безопасности, в том числе в рамках категорически отвергнутого нашими партнерами на Западе проекта договора о европейской безопасности. Платформа ОБСЕ может и должна использоваться не для безрезультатного выяснения отношений, а для сближения позиций и поиска путей выхода из кризиса евробезопасности. И в завершение хотел сказать несколько приятных слов для нас, парламентариев. Напомню, что на 137-й Ассамблее МПС в Санкт-Петербурге была принята резолюция, закрепившая решение об учреждении Международного дня парламентаризма. В исполнении этого Генеральная Ассамблея ООН постановила 22 мая этого года, начиная со своей 72-й сессии, отмечать 30 июня каждого года Международный день парламентаризма и предложила всем государствам, членам, национальным парламентам, организациям системы Организации Объединенных Наций и другим соответствующим международным организациям, гражданскому обществу отмечать этот день и способствовать распространению информации о нем. Подытоживая, я хотел еще раз подчеркнуть важность восстановления доверия и продвижения к тому сообществу равной и неделимой безопасности, о которой наши лидеры договорились на саммите в Астане в 2010 году. Спасибо.
Спасибо, господин Джаваров. When the next speaker, as I announced already, Olga Belkova, followed by Tahir Mirkishli from Azerbaijan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start my contribution by a very special thank you, which is going to Germany. Not only Germany was a wonderful, wonderful host for all of us and for our delegation, we really see your attempt to find peace and common ground for all of us. But it is a very strong and special partner for my country, Ukraine. Just yesterday, 14 wounded soldiers arrived to Germany. 8 will stay in Berlin and 4 will go to Hamburg, where German medical staff members will help our doctors to take care of heavily wounded people. This is to say ceasefire is non-existent in Ukraine. But what Germany and many other capitals and countries which are represented in this hall right now is doing for Ukraine is a true spirit of cooperation and peacemaking. Let's compare it to one more member of this particular organization, Russian Federation. Russian side continues illegal malpractice of prosecution of Ukrainian citizens on political charges. At this moment, 24 Ukrainian citizens who are illegally prosecuted by the Russian authorities remain in custody on trumped-up charges of complicity in terrorism, espionage, etc. Meanwhile, Russian occupying authorities on the temporary occupied territory of Ukraine, Crimea, illegally detains at least 45 Ukrainian citizens. The latest example of the illegal detention of Ukrainian citizens by Russian competent authorities is the abduction of, ladies and gentlemen, 19 years old Pavlo Grib. Listen, this is how low we came. Even KGB had some moral grounds. The guy was tricked by some kind of a love correspondence with a girlfriend to Belarus, and there he was detained. We reiterate today that the provisions of Minsk Agreement regarding the release of all hostages and illegally detained persons on the basis of all for all principle applied to the Ukrainian citizens illegally detained in Russia. Mr. President, you were just elected here, and we think it is a good reason to reform. We should strive for very direct, very strong messages. People in our countries, they want solutions. They do not want just fluffy diplomatic language. We need to not only to condemn, but we need to urge Russia to stop war in Ukraine. We should not hesitate, because the more we fight here verbally, the less people are dying in Ukraine and in other places. We should not hesitate. Let's be strong, and let's make OSCE meaningful to everybody who attends it and people in our countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks and intervention. Dear Tahir, please. And then next speaker will be Mr. Andrei Hunko from Germany.
Guten Tag, Herr President. Dear colleagues, during the last days we carried out very fruitful discussions on different topics. I would like to pay attention to one of these topics, which was related to digital democracy and electronic parliaments. Democracy is a cluster of things, including media, civil society, and habits of compromise, as well as formal mechanism of voting. Digital democracy is the practice of democracy using digital tools and technologies. Democratic institutions today look much as they were for many years. Some of the parliaments are already untouched by successive waves of new technology. So we still live in the world where the debates require speakers to be physically present. There is a little use of digital information and data sharing during parliamentary sessions. Even here in the OSCE Parliament Assembly, yesterday we voted raising our hands, and today we will vote here by walking through corridors. At the same time, almost every sphere of life, finance, tourism, shopping, work, and our social relationships has been dramatically transformed by the rise of technologies, particularly social media. In the age of data, we are moving to face hyper-personalized policies. Many argue that this gap between the way in which citizens go about their daily lives and the way in which politics and democracy are carried out is one of the many factors that has contributed to declining trust and confidence in democratic institutions. In response, many have argued that digital technologies are the answer, and they alone can encourage the greater participations, better decisions, and more trust. The advocates claim that digital technology, digital democracy can achieve deeper and broader participations. One of the primary tasks of the OSCE is to meet the challenges of democracies throughout the OSCE regions. The cyber issues like digital democracy, cybersecurity, is a challenge of democracy now. To meet this challenge, we have to combine our efforts and integrate our approach. Such a comprehensive approach must be reflected in the work of the OSCE, eventually through a special committee or subcommittee. I call OSCE leadership to consider the suggestion in the near future. In conclusion, I want to thank to our secretary for a very nice, actually very well organization of the OSCE, and German leadership, especially Ms. Doris Barnett, for the hospitality. Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Now there will be our German colleague, Mr. Hunko, followed by Mr. Tolstoy from Russian Federation.
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Ich will sagen, ich freue mich sehr, dass ich hier bei der OSZE sprechen kann. Die OSZE hat eine ganz, ganz wichtige Rolle und ihre Vorläuferorganisation, die KSZE, gespielt bei der Überwindung des Kalten Krieges. Und die Tatsache, dass wir hier überhaupt sitzen und so diskutieren können und dann durchs Brandenburger Tor gehen können, daran hat die KSZE eine erhebliche Rolle daran gespielt. Wir sind aber heute in einer Situation, leider, das müssen wir auch feststellen, in der der Kalte Krieg, der ja überwunden geglaubte Kalte Krieg, wieder auf die Tagesordnung zurückgekommen ist. Wir haben parallel jetzt zu unserem Treffen hier den NATO-Gipfel in Brüssel. Dort wird massiv darüber diskutiert, dass aufgerüstet werden soll. In Deutschland sollen die Militärausgaben verdoppelt werden in den nächsten Jahren, wenn man 2% erreichen will. Und sogar die Straßen und Brücken in Deutschland sollen panzerfähig gemacht werden. Das heißt, um schnellere Truppentransporte nach Osten zu ermöglichen. Ich glaube, das ist eine verhängnisvolle Entwicklung und ich würde mir sehr, sehr wünschen, wenn die OSZE wieder so einen Beitrag leisten könnte, wie in der Geschichte, um diesen Konflikt zu überwinden. Ich glaube, ich teile das völlig, was Frau Barnett gesagt hat. Ganz, ganz wichtig ist die Fähigkeit, sich in die Lage des anderen, der anderen Seite, in die Sicherheitsinteressen der anderen Seite hineinversetzen zu können. Und dafür ist es notwendig, dass man überhaupt parlamentarisch auch diskutieren kann. Und ich freue mich hier eben auch, dass alle 57 Parlamente anwesend sind. Ich bin sehr aktiv in dem Europarat. Dort ist in der Parlamentarischen Versammlung es im Augenblick nicht möglich, alle Seiten anzuhören. Ich will noch einen zweiten Punkt ansprechen. Gestern wurde auch gesprochen über die Schwierigkeiten bei den Wahlbeobachtungen. Kollege Michael Link hat darauf verwiesen, dass wir im Europarat einen neuen Code of Conduct entwickelt haben, um sozusagen Gefälligkeitswahlbeobachtungen, wie ich das mal nennen will, zu vermeiden. Ich will aber auch darauf hinweisen, dass es auch ein weiteres Problem gibt, dass wir eine zunehmende Tendenz haben, in der internationalen Politik Parlamentarier zu sanktionieren, nicht die Regierung, aber Parlamentarier zu sanktionieren und auch jetzt bei der Wahlbeobachtung in der Türkei 2 Abgeordnete aus unserer Versammlung, ich bin einer davon, nicht einreisen konnten, obwohl sie ein OSZE-Mandat haben. Das ist ein großes Problem. Es ist auch nicht nur für die Wahlbeobachtung ein Problem, sondern auch, ich glaube, dass die parlamentarische Diplomatie in diesen schwierigen Zeiten sehr, sehr wichtig ist. Und wir beobachten eine zunehmende Tendenz, auch außerhalb von Wahlbeobachtungen, Abgeordnete auf schwarze Listen zu setzen, wenn sie unbequem sind, in Russland gegenüber EU-Abgeordneten, in der EU gegenüber Russland, in der Türkei jetzt. Und die Parlamentarische Versammlung des Europarats hat deshalb auch eine, glaube ich, sehr wichtige Resolution dazu verabschiedet. Ich glaube, wir müssen uns in der Zukunft viel mehr damit noch auseinandersetzen. Ich danke für die Aufmerksamkeit.
Thank you. You really touched upon sensitive and important issues, and I think you will hear also today later on some reflections and some vision from our leadership, how we could proceed in this direction, and I think we will find effective ways to safeguard our observation mission integrity and then activism in this process and facing challenges around. So thank you, and thank you for good cooperation in this quite peculiar situation that they've been. Another speaker now will be Mr. Tolstoy, followed by Representative Armenia Tigran Burikhanyan.
Уважаемый председательствующий, уважаемые коллеги, считаю, что наша совместная работа на этой сессии позволила принять целый ряд справедливых и объективных решений, которые способствуют укреплению безопасности и доверия на нашем континенте между всеми странами нашей организации. В то же время не могу не сказать, как и говорил в начале нашей работы, о том, что Российская Федерация не согласна с 3 резолюциями, которые рассматривались на этой сессии, предвзятыми в отношении нашей страны. Мы считаем такой подход для ОБСЕ недопустимым, дискредитирующим авторитет нашей с вами организации. Парламентарии должны основываться на фактах, а не на слухах и фейк-ньюс из интернет-изданий и средств массовой информации. К сожалению, и доклады госпожи Сегерфельд, и резолюция, предложенная украинскими коллегами, и так называемая грузинская резолюция к десятилетию войны в Грузии, все эти 3 документа не имеют никакого отношения к реальности. Я уж не говорю о том, что до сих пор мы слышим игнорирование воссоединения Крыма с Россией. Мы понимаем, что еще нужно 20 или 30 лет, чтобы вы к этому привыкли. Не все сразу привыкли к объединенной Германии. Но ничего, это пройдет. Мы считаем, что для того, чтобы принимать объективные и взвешенные решения в ходе Ассамблеи, парламентарии должны знать, о чем они говорят. Они должны приехать и увидеть своими глазами. Только тогда к таким решениям будет доверие наших избирателей, будет уважение и международный авторитет нашей организации. По-прежнему возражаем против этих 3 резолюций, и в связи с этим будем вынуждены голосовать против нашей общей декларации, хотя она содержит много полезного. Считаем, что и дальше мы должны укреплять авторитет нашей организации, только основываясь, еще раз повторяю, на фактах, а не на пропагандистских заявлениях и не имеющих отношения к действительности, которые мы слышим в этом зале от представителей ряда русофобских делегаций. Пора заканчивать эту истерику и заниматься нормальной конструктивной работой в интересах безопасности в Европе, в интересах сотрудничества, с тем, чтобы наши дети играли в футбол, не думая о том, что есть какие-то линии разделения на нашем континенте. Спасибо.
Well, let's proceed with other speakers. Speaker from Armenia already announced, and then another speaker from Ukraine, Mr. Chubarov.
Благодарю вас, господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Мы с вами затрагиваем многие вопросы, но в особенности говорим о безопасности в странах региона ОБСЕ. Скажите, может ли кто-нибудь из присутствующих чувствовать себя безопасно, если в непосредственной близости от него кто-либо брецает и сотрясает оружием, сотрясает воздух и атмосферу угрозами и претенциозностью, выдвигая претензии, абсолютно не укладываемые в какие-либо дипломатические рамки, требуя лишь одного того, что выгодно исключительно себе, не считаясь и не учитывая интересы сторон, соприкасающихся к данной проблематике и теме. Более того, может ли чувствовать себя кто-либо в безопасности, если в непосредственной близости от него находящийся, брецающий оружием, направляет это оружие конкретно в сторону кого-либо из нас? Сегодня и в прошедшие дни не раз говорилось о важной роли ОБСЕ, в частности парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ, по линии предотвращения будущих войн и конфликтов. Говорилось о регулировании проблем в плане профилактики эскалации конфликтов. Южный Кавказ – это зона, это регион Организации по безопасности и сотрудничеству Европы. На Южном Кавказе в сторону Республики Армения, в сторону Нагорного Карабаха направлено оружие. Происходит концентрация военных сил, концентрация огромной мощи военных человеческих ресурсов и оружия, в том числе и тяжелой военной техники. Это брецание сопровождается, я подчеркиваю, с однозначными претензиями и условиями, требующими односторонние уступки, так называемые. Это угроза в отношении региона, конкретного региона ОБСЕ, это угроза безопасности нашей с вами организации, ибо ценнее человеческой жизни не может быть ничего, ценнее многочисленных жизней людей не может быть ничего, и наша организация обязана проявить себя с четкой позицией в отношении угрозы, направленной против человеческих жизней в конкретном регионе Организации по безопасности и сотрудничеству Европы. Соседний Азербайджан готовится применить это оружие в отношении человеческих жизней. Соседний Азербайджан готовится к войне. И я хочу, чтобы впоследствии никто не говорил, что мы об этом не говорили. Односторонняя претенциозность и брецание направленным оружием должно осуждаться мировым, миролюбивым сообществом. Благодарю за внимание.
Well, we'll proceed with another, let's say there will be another speaker now from Algeria, Mr. I'm sorry. No, yeah. Now it's a Chubarov from Ukraine, and followed by our colleague from Greece, Loanis Theophylaktos. Mr. Chubarov, floor is yours.
Уважаемый председатель, коллеги, я, как и многие из вас, очень ответственно воспринял основную тему нашей сессии. Первым делом я обратился к предыдущим документам Парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ. При этом разделительной линией для меня стал февраль 2014 года, начало вооруженной агрессии Российской Федерации против Украины. Уважаемые коллеги, очевидно, что для развития нашей организации, обеспечения мира в регионе, усиление роли ОБСЕ, предупреждение конфликтов требует выполнения принимаемых нами решений. Я процитирую лишь один пункт из резолюции с очень тревожным названием очевидное, грубое и неисправленное нарушение хельсинских принципов Российской Федерации. Эта резолюция была принята в 2014 году в ходе сессии в Баку. Я цитирую. «Начиная с февраля 2014 года Российская Федерация в рамках своих отношений с Украиной нарушила все 10 хельсинских принципов, причем некоторые из них очевидным, грубым и до сих пор неисправленным образом, а также нарушает свои принятые по Будапештскому меморандуму обязательства, равно как и другие международные обязательства». Уважаемые коллеги, прошло 4 года. Россия, участник ОБСЕ, не исправила ни одного из 10 нарушенных ею принципов, положенных в основу организации. Я понимаю особую сложность ситуации, которая заключается в том, что Россия, как участник ОБСЕ, полностью разрушает, превращает в пыль базовые ценности организации. Но ведь это не означает, что мы должны молчать, отступая перед агрессией, которая может привести весь регион к катастрофическим событиям и трагедиям. В контексте темы нашей текущей сессии о роли парламентов. Но мы ведь все знаем, что обе палаты Федерального собрания Российской Федерации проголосовали 1 марта 2014 года о вводе российских войск на территорию Украины. Парламентарии России в 2014 году нажали на кнопку войны, следствием которого стало более 10 тысяч человеческих жизней украинцев. Уважаемые коллеги, теперь российская оккупационная власть делает все для того, чтобы репрессиями и гонениями выдавить крымских татар со своей земли. Они хотят повторить то, что сделал Сталин в 1944 году, изгнав из Крыма его коренной народ. И в заключение, коллеги, мы надеемся на вашу поддержку сегодня при голосовании за резолюцию о нарушениях прав человека, прав крымско-татарского народа со стороны российской оккупационной власти в Крыму. Нашей поддержки и эффективной помощи ожидает подавляющее большинство населения Крыма, включая 95 политзаключенных Крыма, в числе которых Олег Сенцов, Зейтулаев Руслан, Куку Эмир Усеин, который также уже 2 недели находится в состоянии голодовки, братья Узеир и Тимур Абдулаевы, Бекир Дегерменджи, Казим Аметов, Сейран Салиев, Мустафаев Сервер. Я не в состоянии назвать все фамилии. Заканчиваю призывом к дальнейшему объединению наших усилий в рамках ОБСЕ, содействия Украине, восстановлению ее территориальной целостности в рамках ее международно признанных границ, включая Автономную Республику Крым и город Севастополь. Благодарю вас за внимание.
Thank you, Mr. Chubarov, I'm very sorry. Mr. Theophylaktos from Greece, and then another speaker from Armenia, Karen Bekarian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, according to our fundamental agreement, Helsinki Final Act, the respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms is an essential principle for all member states. According to Article 7 of Helsinki Final Act, the member states of OSCE not only should they respect human rights and fundamental freedoms, but they will also promote the effective exercise of civil, political, first generation, economic, social, cultural, second generation, and other rights and freedoms, all of which derive from the inherent dignity of the human person and are essential for his free and full development. So all OSCE member states are bound that they will constantly respect these rights and freedoms in their mutual relations, acting in conformity with the Charter of UN and with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Turkey, an OSCE member state, is in an emergency status since 2 years, and that is dangerous for deteriorating the respect of human rights and fundamental freedoms. I'm afraid that many violations of human rights took place in Turkey during those last 2 years, and that concerns Turkish citizens, including imprisonments without fair trials, dismissals from public positions, including even judges, and so on. But it's really worrying when Turkey violates Helsinki Final Act and Article 7 for the respect for human rights, and that concerns foreign citizens. Unfortunately, there are many examples of Turkey not respecting foreign citizens' human rights and citizens of OSCE member states. Some of these examples: a Finnish journalist, a German journalist, named Mesale Tulu, two American citizens named Pastor Andrew Branson and Serkan Golds, and since 4 months now, two Greek officers, Angelos Mitretodis and Dimitris Koukladzis, who have now been held for more than 4 months without charges being brought against them. Imagine how a serious state that belongs to OSCE can accept that. The two Greek officers, while on a routine patrol across the Greek-Turkish border, were arrested, allegedly having strayed across the border. Let me, dear colleagues, just tell you that in a similar case, when Greek authorities arrested a Turkish citizen because of breaching the borders, we, Greece, released him the next day, and he went back to Turkey after he had a fair trial. Dear colleagues, we voted an amendment yesterday in the third committee for these non-fair trials in Turkey, or non-trials at all. But I think that I propose that OSCE should take concrete and specific actions so as all human rights and fundamental freedoms of Turkish citizens of OSCE member states, and of all human beings must be protected by Turkey, and also that OSCE should monitor all these judicial cases in Turkey, irrelevant of how long lasts the emergency status there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Telofiktos. Our next speaker from our partner country, from Algeria, Mr. Hachemi Dejar. Please, sir, floor is yours.
Le thème de cette session renvoie bien évidemment à toutes les questions qui sont au cœur de l'acte final d'Helsinki et de la Charte de Paris. Mais il renvoie aussi à des phénomènes nouveaux qui ont surgi depuis la chute du mur. Il s'agit notamment de la dimension méditerranéenne de l'OSCE. Aussi, le moment est sans doute venu, aujourd'hui plus que par le passé, pour les parlementaires de l'OSCE d'élargir davantage le champ de leurs préoccupations aux menaces qui pèsent lourdement sur la paix, la sécurité et la stabilité dans le pourtour méditerranéen où l'embrasement a pris une ampleur inquiétante. En effet, que ce soit au Proche et Moyen-Orient ou encore sur la rive sud de la Méditerranée et au Sahel, tous les indicateurs montrent qu'une crise multidimensionnelle aux conséquences dévastatrices tend à s'installer dans la durée. Cette crise dans laquelle se débattent désespérément des millions de personnes interpelle donc tout particulièrement l'Assemblée parlementaire de l'OSCE ainsi que ses partenaires de coopération. Pour ce qui la concerne en sa qualité de pays partenaire, l'Algérie n'a pas cessé de plaider et d'agir en faveur de la paix par sa contribution active aux efforts visant à dégager des solutions basées sur le droit, la justice et le dialogue. Et comme vient de le reconnaître aussi bien une délégation de l'Organisation internationale pour les migrations qu'une délégation du Haut Commissariat aux réfugiés, l'Algérie n'a pas cessé non plus de prendre sa part, avec humanité et responsabilité dans le traitement des phénomènes migratoires auxquels elle est confrontée, non plus en tant que pays de transit vers l'Europe, mais en tant que pays de destination. L'Algérie continue également de traquer avec détermination les terroristes et de sécuriser ses frontières tout en poursuivant résolument ses réformes, ainsi que la mise en œuvre de ses programmes de développement qui constituent l'un des remparts les plus solides contre la radicalisation. Mais la gravité de la crise dans laquelle se débat le pourtour méditerranéen ne peut plus se suffire des efforts déployés localement par les acteurs de bonne volonté. Elle interpelle aussi les parlementaires des pays de l'OSCE, par-delà les engagements concernant leur propre espèce de compétences, à faire de la paix et de la sécurité durable, ainsi que du co-développement dans leur voisinage méridional, une dimension essentielle de leurs préoccupations, tout en clarifiant enfin le statut de partenaire à la coopération. Faute de quoi, les terroristes et tous ceux qui font commerce de la détresse humaine pour des intérêts particuliers finiront par s'ériger en obstacle insurmontable à la promotion des valeurs qui guident l'action de l'OSCE depuis près d'un demi-siècle. De plus, ces valeurs ne pourront prospérer que si les terreaux humains et sociologiques auxquels elles sont destinées n'est pas ignoré. Elles ne pourront pas prospérer non plus si le climat de guerre, d'insécurité, de pauvreté et de désordre n'est pas assaini dans le cadre d'une approche politique et diplomatique fondée sur la confiance, la coopération et le dialogue. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to call Ms. Agalieva from Azerbaijan, and after her, Mr. Gennady Gonishenko from the Russian Federation. Ms. Agalieva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, I'd like to highlight the importance of protection of rights of children. The children are often the most vulnerable in times of conflict and crisis. They suffer from conflicts as refugees and internally displaced persons. Conflicts deprive them of their basic human rights, rights to education, healthcare, and social protection. It affects their future and the future of the countries at large. Since eruption of Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, hundreds of Azerbaijani children were killed. 92 children were taken hostage. 3,393 children lost one parent. 120 children lost both parents. Thousands of children have been forcefully expelled from their homes, and whereabouts of some of them are still unknown. All our states have committed themselves back in 1999 in Istanbul Summit to regularly address the issue of rights of children, especially in conflict and post-conflict situations, including refugees and internally displaced children in the work of the OSCE. Unfortunately, the work of the OSCE in this direction is far from being satisfactory. It urged the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly to give focused attention to this issue, to foster momentum for the executive part of our organization. I hope that this issue will be taken into account and will be reflected in the document of our next session. And finally, in response to the statement by the Armenian representative, I'd like to say that Armenians should first ask the reasons for current situation, which is the result of use of force by Armenia and occupation of territories of Azerbaijan. So instead of repeating usual ungrounded statements, Armenia must fulfill its obligations under international law and withdraw its forces from the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, as demanded by the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. And I now call Mr. Gennady Onishenko from the Russian Federation, and after him I will call Mr. John Whittingdale from the United Kingdom.
Уважаемые коллеги, прежде всего я воспользуюсь случаем и поздравлю делегацию Франции с победой и выходом в полуфинал, вернее, в финал. При этом я не считаю, что Бельгия проиграла, она просто мудро поступила, отступив на шаг в сторону, как более перспективная команда в Европе. Мы с вами, уважаемые коллеги, сегодня и присоединяясь к тому хору голосов, который совершенно заслуженно благодарит германскую делегацию, германскую сторону за этот прием. И не потому, что здесь все хорошо организовано, а потому, что нам дали возможность выступать в этом зале. Это здание Рейхстага, на крыше которого в мае 1945 года развивался флаг моей страны. И 15 делегаций, которые сидят в этом зале, заплатили непомерную цену для того, чтобы тот ужас, который происходил в Европе, он был прекращен, и гитлеровская гидра была задушена. Хельсинский процесс. Все говорят о нем, но никто не вспоминает, кроме финляндской делегации, о том, что инициатором этого Хельсинского процесса была моя страна, тогда Советский Союз, теперь Россия, юридическая правопреемница этого процесса. Вам в понедельник, совершенно не спровоцированно, глава делегации Соединенных Штатов заявил, что у нас был продуктивный разговор на полях нашего саммита. В конце этой недели два великих политика современности, два руководителя великих государств встретятся и будут обсуждать повестку дня, и она будет касаться не только наших двух стран, но и всей ситуации на планете. Российская Федерация внесла в документ очень серьезные поправки, связанные с ролью России в коммуникации между евразийской культурой и экономикой и европейской культурой. Мы полноправные члены ОБСЕ, мы инициаторы процессов ШОС и Евразийского экономического партнерства. И поэтому, если наша с вами организация не спрячет голову в песок, а будет активно участвовать в этом процессе, где Россия предлагает свои услуги, то мы с вами многое сможем решить. Теперь о выступлениях. Уважаемые коллеги, огульные обвинения России без фактов и на эмоциях, они заслуживают только или литературной, или медицинской оценки. Я хочу сказать, что сегодня в моей стране 3 200 000 украинцев, моих этнических родственников, работают и живет и кормят свою страну. 2 миллиона – это те люди, которые работают, и Россия не меняла своего пограничного режима, которые зарабатывают деньги, пересылают и составляют огромный удельный вес ВВП этого государства. И 1 200 000 – это беженцев с Донбасса. Да, действительно гибнут в Донбассе люди, но это гибнут люди, которые по велению человека, который называет себя руководителем государства, стреляют по детским садам, школам, артиллерии. Не надо, подожди. Теперь я хочу сказать о роли Ассамблеи. Мы председатель нашей Ассамблеи выбирали не для того, чтобы он манипулировал нами и руководил. Он гарант соблюдения того протокола, который существует. А этот протокол обеспечивает равноправное участие всех государств. Манипулирует с подсчетом голосов, манипулирует очередностью в этом выступлениях и так далее, и так далее. Россия великая страна, и она не будет мириться с тем, чтобы ей так помыкали. Мы готовы обсуждать любые вопросы, но с фактами и с этими. И в этом историческом здании перед ответственностью за наших дедов и наших отцов, которые свои жизни и здоровье отдали, мы обязаны... Вы никого не прерывали. Что вы там не... Поэтому я призываю всех ту роль, которую нам поручили наши народы, выполнить в полной мере, а не заниматься пинг-понгом политическим. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are other speakers and we have a very tight agenda. And I'm now going to call Mr. John Whittingdale from the United Kingdom, and after him, Mr. Pascal Alizade from France. Mr. Whittingdale, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. As a former Minister for Sport and Culture in the British government, I am very much aware of the power of sport and art in bringing nations together and increasing understanding. So I'd like to start by congratulating the Russian Federation on their hosting of the World Cup so far, and I say to my friends from Croatia in the room, may the best team win. However, as a newcomer to the OSCE, I have to say that I am disappointed by my experience so far. Our debate over the course of the last 3 days has consisted of repetitions of positions that have not changed in some cases for 20 years. Despite all efforts here and elsewhere, in Transnistria, in South Ossetia and Abkhazia, all 3 conflicts remain frozen, with those regions effectively under Russian control. Russia is still in occupation of Crimea, in breach of the UN Charter and the OSCE Helsinki Final Act. Russia continues to support and control the separatist movements in Donbass, in the east of Ukraine, including the supply of heavy weapons such as the missile launcher used to shoot down MH17, leading to the death of 298 passengers and crew. Russia has also been waging hybrid warfare against many countries, including cyber attacks, disinformation, and interference in elections, particularly in the United States and in France. However, most recently, in my country, an attack was carried out using an illegal nerve agent, which affected 5 people, one of whom, a British citizen, has now died. My government clearly holds Russia responsible as the only actor that has the technical means, the operational expertise, and the motive to carry out this attack. I would like to thank the 27 countries, most of whom are represented in this room today, for their solidarity in expelling diplomats from their country in response to that attack. But instead of cooperating with the British investigation, Russia's response was to oppose the decision to give the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons stronger powers to investigate chemical weapons incidents. I would call once again upon the Russian Federation to make full and transparent disclosure of all information relating to this incident and to act upon the resolutions which will be contained in the declaration that we will make from here and all the previous declarations that the OSCE has passed. Without that, I have to say that I believe that the credibility of this organization is severely undermined. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whittingdale. And I now call Monsieur Pascal Alizade from France. The floor is yours, Monsieur Alizade.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier et féliciter un peu par anticipation notre président, Georges Retelli, pour la perspective de son élection dans quelques minutes et lui dire qu'on a appris à travailler ensemble. Et je connais la force de ses convictions, je connais aussi sa capacité à écouter les différences et ça se retrouve dans une présidence à la fois structurée et apaisée. Je tenais à le souligner et à l'en remercier. Je voudrais aussi remercier nos collègues de la délégation allemande, Mme Doris Barnett, pour la perfection et la chaleur de leur accueil. Réellement, un très grand merci, chers collègues. Mon propos sera bref, mais je voudrais dire quelques mots sur ce projet des nouvelles routes de la soie mené par la Chine, que l'on appelle désormais Belt and Road Initiative. Remercier les membres du groupe de contact et son président d'y avoir accepté la France pour participer aux travaux et pour avoir beaucoup travaillé sur ce sujet cet hiver, attirer l'attention de l'ensemble des collègues que ce n'est pas qu'un simple label économique, ça peut être aussi un nouvel ordre mondial qui est en train d'arriver. Rappeler, et c'est peut-être une suggestion, que les pays de la zone OSCE entre eux ont des discussions, voire des différences, on l'entend régulièrement dans les interventions des uns et des autres, mais il me semble que sur un sujet comme celui des routes de la soie, qui est un sujet majeur au niveau mondial, nous avons tout intérêt à réfléchir, à travailler tous ensemble pour analyser la situation et faire de la prospective. Si nous ne savons pas passer d'un bilatéralisme de masse qui est imposé par les Chinois à un multilatéralisme structuré, je crois que nous aurons à terme, les uns et les autres, quelques mauvaises surprises. Je voudrais donner 2 exemples de l'évolution de la situation et rappeler qu'il y a juste quelques semaines, le premier contrat à terme d'achat de pétrole libellé en yuan et convertible en or à la bourse de Shanghai et de Hong Kong a été signé. C'était quelque chose d'absolument inenvisageable il y a encore 1 an ou 2. Et dire aussi, sans trop donner de chiffres, que nos amis chinois mettent sur la table entre 5 000 et 8 000 milliards de dollars sur 5 ans. Ce qui fait qu'on est sur une masse de l'ordre du trillion par an. C'est absolument énorme. Et face à cela, l'Inde, par exemple, et ses alliés répondent à ce projet Belt and Road Initiative avec 200 milliards de dollars au total. On est dans des disproportions absolument considérables. Voilà, mes chers collègues, mon propos, bien évidemment, n'est pas d'être belliqueux vis-à-vis de nos amis chinois, mais simplement de dire qu'il ne faut pas être naïf non plus. Nous devons ensemble y réfléchir et y travailler. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, dear Pascal. Now with this, we concluded our general debate. I'd like to thank all the speakers. Almost everybody that we've been in line with our procedures and at time, and I think it was very interesting to hear from you. I don't want to go back now to the issue which was raised when I was voting, but I thought that we clarified that in the hall and also during our bilateral meeting. I'd like to state one thing. Impartiality here is guaranteed, and all the members will see that nobody is discriminated. But if you'd like to speak when it's not time to speak and it's against the rules, I personally or any chairman will not allow you to do that. We will accommodate in a best spirit of cooperation, but please, once again, I'd like to ask the particular colleague I don't know, don't try to find the reason for criticism when it's groundless. So we're respecting you as a speakers and we will continue in this spirit. So please, thank you very much for your attention. And now I'd like to ask our Secretary General our Secretary General is Roberto Montella. But the Secretary General is also ours of OSCE, of our big organization, Mr. Thomas Greminger, to take floor and to address Parliamentary Assembly. Please, dear Thomas, we're looking forward to hear from you. I think you can go, whatever, I mean, which place you like.
Mr. President, Secretary General, distinguished members of the Parliamentary Assembly, dear colleagues, I'm also your Secretary General. Thank you so much for inviting me to take part in this important meeting. Europe is currently experiencing a multiplicity of security challenges and threats to cooperation unlike any we have seen before. Divisions and distrust among and within participating states are on the rise. Military conflict has re-emerged against the backdrop of increasing unpredictability. Nationalist and populist rhetoric is fostering unilateral and unconstructive approaches. Profound disagreements on how to apply the principles and commitments of our common security space put stability at stake in the OSCE area. Distinguished members of the Parliamentary Assembly, we need to avoid discussions that lead to mutual accusations and the repetition of well-known positions. We will only succeed in re-establishing a security order based on mutual trust and based on shared rules if we take seriously the OSCE's raison d'être, enhancing meaningful and constructive dialogue. New ideas and creative approaches are needed now more than ever. William Blake famously said, "What is now proved was once only imagined." I find it inspiring to recall how the heads of state and government who gathered in Istanbul in 1999 saw the Parliamentary Assembly as an institution, and I quote, "continuously providing new ideas and proposals," end of quote. European security is in need of innovative approaches, and the PA has proven to be an excellent source. In today's world, multilateralism and multilateral institutions are targets of acute criticism. and many of our citizens share this view. To ensure that the OSCE is sensitive to the aspirations and needs of our citizens, we need you, the Parliamentary Assembly, to represent their voices. The OSCE is by definition the most diverse and pluralistic of our structures. You represent a great variety of perspectives and interests. But we also need to be able to convey what we do and why it matters. As OSCE members, you are in a privileged position. And you have the great responsibility to connect our organization with the political establishment, as well as with grassroots communities and civil society. You are also extremely well placed to engage in parliamentary diplomacy. Parliamentary diplomacy, an essential tool for managing and preventing conflict. Parliamentarians, with your unique access to decision makers in governments and political parties, have proven to be effective many times in the past. And ladies and gentlemen, currently there is a specific case where I see great potential for your involvement. Athens and Skopje recently reached a historic agreement on the long-standing name dispute that could pave the way for a full-fledged European future for the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. But to be effective and to enter into force, the agreement needs strong political support, including the support of both legislative bodies. As OSCE members, you can play a critical role in supporting constructive and results-oriented discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, the OSCE is a respected voice for security and cooperation in Europe, and it is widely seen as a cost-effective organization. We can be proud of our successes in key areas. Allow me to briefly highlight just a few of them. We continue to provide platforms for dialogue, including in the political-military sphere. Currently, our flagship initiative is the structured dialogue process, where capitals play a vital role. The structured dialogue has stimulated useful exchanges on threat perceptions, on force postures, and on military doctrines. I hope the process will reinvigorate existing confidence and security building measures, and perhaps, further down the road, even revive genuine interest in conventional arms control. A number of practical, verifiable steps could be considered to ease tensions. These could include enhancing measures on incident prevention, self-restraint measures, voluntary notification of major exercises, and complementary regional confidence and security building measures, such as information exchange and additional visits. To achieve those goals, we will need political will, and we need your support. The OSCE continues to play a critical role in addressing the biggest obstacle to European security and cooperation, the crisis in and around Ukraine. The human cost of the conflict in eastern Ukraine is devastating. The failure of the sides to respect the ceasefire or to withdraw heavy weapons continues to result in civilian death and injuries. Access to basic necessities like water, food, and medicine is severely curtailed for hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the contact line. Our special monitoring mission to Ukraine, operating in increasingly difficult conditions, continues to monitor the situation, assist civilians, and support meaningful dialogue. The sides should fulfill their commitments and guarantee our monitors' safety, and grant them unhindered access throughout the conflict zone. And they also need to stop targeting our UAVs. Ladies and gentlemen, we need a new political impulse to break the current deadlock. After more than 4 years of fighting, military logic prevails. So I'm encouraged that the Normandy 4 are re-engaging at high levels. There is no real alternative to the Minsk agreements, if you like it or not, and the parties should fully implement them. If agreement should be reached on launching a peace operation in eastern Ukraine, we are of course ready to closely cooperate with the UN. We have proven our worth as an impartial observer and as an honest broker. I'm convinced that achieving a peaceful settlement in eastern Ukraine is possible, but the responsibility for peace lies with the parties. And I urge all who have influence on the sides to press them harder to take real and to take substantial steps to end the conflict. Ultimately, achieving sustainable peace in eastern Ukraine hinges on political will. This is obviously also true for the protracted conflicts in our region. So I'm pleased by recent positive developments in the Transnistrian settlement process, in which the OEC plays a key role. Joint efforts have resulted in tangible progress for residents of both banks, positively influencing citizens' everyday lives. This, ladies and gentlemen, demonstrates that cooperation is possible and can lead to results even in protracted conflicts. So we must intensify our efforts to work together constructively in all the existing mediation formats, including by bringing more women to the negotiation tables. The evidence is indisputable that the meaningful engagement of women in peace processes leads to more effective and to more sustainable outcomes. A failure to include women is a waste of resources and a missed opportunity to use all possible factors to achieve peace. The OEC is well prepared to rebuild trust through incremental, step-by-step approaches. We already do this in many areas, such as combating trafficking of human beings, weapons and drugs, or countering violent extremism. Our 16 cybersecurity confidence-building measures are another excellent example. Agreed by consensus, they aim to lower the risk of misperception and miscalculation connected to the use of information technologies by state authorities. Now we need to focus on their implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, in turbulent times, taking new approaches and exploring creative ideas can paradoxically be the best way to remain committed to our core principles. This is part of my rationale for proposing a reform agenda for the OEC. A reform agenda to ensure the organization remains fit for purpose and ready to seize opportunities for cooperation. Constructive discussions with participating states on how to improve the budget cycle are already taking place. And I do hope to conclude this part of the reform before we leave for a summer recess in a few weeks. In April, a few months ago, I convened a Security Day expert roundtable to explore how the OEC can further strengthen the effectiveness of our existing work in the field, as well as explore new ideas of adding value on the ground, such as by creating thematic hubs and liaison offices. A new regional dynamic in Central Asia and positive developments in the Western Balkans are creating openings where the OEC can make a difference. We also have opportunities for intensified cooperation with our Mediterranean and with our Asian partners. Indeed, leveraging partnerships is another crucial element of the reform agenda, and not only with our Mediterranean and Asian partners, but also with the UN and other regional organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, further steps are also needed to bring youth and gender perspectives and concerns into the mainstream of our work. There is also room for improving administrative and organizational procedures on issues such as human resource policies and information technology systems. Currently, a management review of the Secretariat, supported by the private consultancy firm Ernst & Young, is taking place. It will soon provide a number of action-oriented and practical recommendations that will increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of the organization. So I'm contributing the Secretariat's part to making the OEC fit for purpose. However, this is not enough. Today, the OEC is at crossroads politically, strategically, but also financially. And we need to collectively engage in recreating a shared vision of the OEC's future. Ladies and gentlemen, this organization suffers from chronic underfunding. If the current zero nominal growth policies continue, our unified budget will be reduced in real terms by 10% by 2025. This situation will result in a weakening of our relevance as an organization and in a reduction in our capacity to strengthen security for our participating states. And we will also face increasing exposure to legal, financial, operational, and reputational risks. Due to the budget negotiated vacancy rate within the Secretariat, currently approximately 1 in every 20 posts are not funded. So I start the year with uncovered expenses amounting to 1.6 million euros. This underfunding is managed by not hiring staff that is needed to carry out the planned programmatic activities or underspending operating costs, which likewise result in cancellation of activities. Ladies and gentlemen, this approach is simply not sustainable. It also contains a contradiction. The executive structures will not be able to deliver what participating states have asked them to do at the beginning of the year. The unified budget of the OEC equals the cost of a modern F-22 jet fighter. My question to you, is cooperative security not worth a slightly higher investment? The alternative to properly funding the OEC is to cut down on activities and to right-size the organization to match the available funding. This option would require rethinking our priorities to reduce activities and programs deemed less critical. The decision is up to participating states, and legislative bodies and parliamentarians across our region will, I hope, have their say. Dear colleagues, let me conclude on a more positive note. We will only succeed if we work together, with a sense of common purpose across the entire OEC family. As Secretary General, I'm deeply satisfied with the excellent relations that the OEC Secretariat and the Parliamentary Assembly maintain at all levels. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to President Zaretelli and Secretary General Montella, as well as to their able teams for this collaborative and for this constructive approach. And I do look forward to further strengthening our ties in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Secretary General, dear Thomas. It was really very interesting to hear from you about the trends, challenges, and your thoughts how to move organization forward. And as you mentioned, we are ready to cooperate in best manner as we can, most effectively. and our members now, I think, will have maybe some questions. And I'd like to ask all of you who are on my list now, it's not many questions, but to limit your speaking time to 1 minute, please. We'll try to do that. The short questions, and then Secretary General will respond. The first question from Kent Harsted, Sweden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Greminger, I want to continue from where you ended your speech about the chronic underfunding. Of course, we have followed this matter for several years, and we know that not even that costs, that those rising inflation, etc., is how to say, given extra funding for. And we know the institutions, ODIHR and others, and the pressure on our different institutions are growing. There's more and more demand for the different services of OSCE. So here you can address a number of members of parliament from so many capitals. What could we do to contribute in these efforts? Because I think something definitely needs to be done. Otherwise, you know, we will get weaker year by year. And even our parliamentary assembly have reflections of our funding, because also we have similar situation. But please, you have the opportunity here to address us, and we can also do practical things in regard to our governments and our foreign ministries, and especially those who decide in the ministries of finance. So please give us some guidance of what we can do for you.
Thank you, dear Kent. Next speaker, Mr. Guliev from Azerbaijan, followed by Zurab Chiaberashvili from Georgia.
Thank you, President. I also like to thank Secretary General for his comprehensive presentation about the current agenda of the OSCE in general. I do appreciate his availability. I really think that the established practice to have the speech or to listen to the speech of the Secretary General is pretty much important in terms of understanding, also having the better coordination between two institutions of the organization. As you may know, Mr. Secretary General, in 2016, in the Ministerial Council held in Hamburg, we agreed on structured dialogue, which is very important for the member countries. We, as a delegation of Azerbaijan, as well as me personally, as a Vice President of the OSCE, value very much this initiative, and we see one of the best opportunity to strengthen dialogue and confidence among the participating states. Also, it is a good tool for fostering the greater understanding among each other. I do believe that these initiatives should be must be directed to strengthen upholding our founding principles in general. This is why I'd like to ask your opinion of the contribution that PA could possibly make in order to keep it alive, or also keep going in the right direction and to really be operational. And also, of course, it could be related to the role of the national parliaments. How you can just combine both of them, and how we can be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And please, Mr. Chiaberashvili.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Secretary General, this Parliamentary Assembly is about to adopt the resolution 10 years after the Georgian-Russian war in 2008, in which the Parliamentary Assembly condemns killings of Georgian citizens in occupied regions of Georgia. And we need to reflect also how OSCE can contribute in stopping these violent acts in occupied territories of Georgia. I know that presence is needed, presence of this very important organization, but as my colleagues in Parliamentary Assembly already know, Russian Federation unfortunately blocked the OSCE mission to Georgia. So my question is whether you think about certain modalities, how can we improve the activities of OSCE in Georgia? Thank you.
So thank you. We don't have any other speakers and other questions so far. So if, dear Thomas, if you are ready to answer now, please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you so much for these highly relevant questions. Let me start with the question related to the budget. Well, let me underscore once more two items that we do from our side. Currently, we are conducting a budget reform that should lead to a biannual budget and to multi-year planning. This is extremely important also in operational terms. It will make programmatic activities of our field operations much more effective and also more attractive. So budget reform is an important pillar. I alluded to the management review that I'm currently conducting of the Secretariat. This will lead to some efficiency gains. So that's basically our contribution. Now, what I would wish you to do is send a clear signal to your governments that we should now overcome this ideologically based zero nominal growth approach to the OEC budget, and look at what this organization really needs. And look at what is currently happening in Central Asia. Central Asians, there are transformations ongoing. There is a transformation in Uzbekistan that affects regional cooperation in a dramatic but positive way. Central Asians want more of the OEC. Imagine, they want more, not less of the OEC. However, we are not, for the time being, or we are struggling in coming up with a response. Lack of resources. Basically, what we are currently are capable of doing is with extra budgetary resources. And I'm grateful to all participating states that have been and are still very generous in helping us out in that sense. So look at the needs. Western Balkans, again, I think there are opportunities out there that need to be seized. And you know, for years there was this ideology that one camp in among the participating states would opt for lowering the budgets of our field missions in Western Balkans, and the other camp would go for the contrary, totally independently from the needs of these field missions. I think we need to go beyond ideology when we look at the budgetary needs of the OEC. And I think that is basically the message that I would like you to convey to your governments. Depoliticize our budget deliberations and provide us with the resources we need. I'm aware that you all face tough budgetary situations back home. I'm under no illusion. But again, look at what we are talking about. We have a regular budget of 138 million. You add the 100 million for the SMM to it, you add the secondments to it, you will end up with a budget that is between 260 and 270 million euros. I mean, find an international organization that provides that value to such a price. Thank you so much for your question on the structured dialogue. Indeed, that is the flagship dialogue platform of the OEC on political military issues. And political military issues, in a way, unfortunately, have come back
to our agenda, and I think this process is an extremely promising process. And I think what you can do is outreach. Make efforts that are currently happening in Vienna with participation of the capitals known to your governments, known to your ministers of defense. Make sure that the military is also engaged. An implicit objective of the structured dialogue is also to increase mill-to-mill dialogue. And here again, it is important that we do not only have the Vienna diplomats sitting at the table, but that all stakeholders come together and gather. So outreach, make sure that your political establishment, that your think tanks in your country know about the structured dialogue, reflect on it, contribute to it. I think that is my plea to you. On Georgia, on the conflict that is dealt with within the Geneva international discussions, I would say two messages. One message is let's try to make the Geneva international discussions again more productive. And I think there, in order to make these discussions more productive, we need to be pragmatic, at least to an extent. We should not leave out of sight the underlying issues, but at the same time, let us be inspired by what has currently happened, what is currently happening in the Transnistrian settlement process. That is, identify a number of measures that really make a difference to the people, and try to work on them. And by working on them, let's try to recreate trust that is then necessary if we want to tackle the more fundamental issues. So reinvigorate the Geneva international discussions by being a bit more pragmatic and by aiming at measures that make a difference on the ground. Presence. It's indeed, it's a strange situation. Basically, I think everybody in here would be in favor of an OEC presence in Georgia, but for political reasons, we do not manage to agree on it. Now, I think in the medium term, we perhaps should still try to agree on it. And again, by being a bit more pragmatic on a number of issues that have so far prevented us from agreeing. In the short term, what could be done is mount a portfolio of projects and programs that could be implemented, formally speaking, out of Vienna, but de facto, of course, by having people regularly on the ground, regularly on the ground, full stop. And I think that is doable. Again, it is a matter of mobilizing extra budgetary resources, but what I sense is there is an availability by a number of participating states for such measures, and that's something that we are going to aim at in the near future. So thanks again for your interest, and thanks for giving me the chance to interact with you this morning.
Thank you indeed, dear Thomas, for your comments, your remarks here, and your will to work closely with the Parliamentary Assembly, with our Secretariat, and with our parliamentarians. I think it's in the best interest of our citizens in our region and beyond. So again, I personally look forward to all of us to work very actively and closely with you and with the Permanent Council. So good luck. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask our Treasurer, dear Doris Barnett, to give a report. And I'm very much pleased to say that, of course, beyond her responsibility as a host of this assembly, she is a treasurer, and she was responsible with the Secretariat for budget. And on Saturday, 7th of July, our Standing Committee unanimously approved the budget for the next financial year, which will start on 1st October 2018. So thank you, dear Doris, and please, floor is yours.
Ja, vielen Dank, Herr Präsident, für die Vorschusslorbeeren. Aber was wäre ich ohne die tolle Unterstützung des Sekretariats? Denn dort wird ja die Hauptarbeit geleistet. Ja, Sie haben ja schon bereits darauf hingewiesen, dass der Ständige Ausschuss den Haushalt verabschiedet hat oder einstimmig zugestimmt hat. Und deswegen lassen Sie mich hier kurz vortragen, denn der ausführliche Bericht liegt ja bereits vor. Der Haushalt ist natürlich wieder ziemlich knapp gestrickt, auch im Hinblick darauf, dass wir ja Haushaltsverantwortung zu Hause haben und mit dem Steuerzahlergeld so vorsichtig wie möglich umgehen müssen. Trotzdem haben wir eine Erhöhung von 7,14% beschließen müssen. Hört sich viel an. Es sind in Euro 230.500 Euro und 25 Cent. Aber das beruht halt auch darauf, dass wir endlich mal unseren Mitarbeitern eine entsprechende Gehaltsanpassung geben mussten, dass wir mehr Wahlbeobachtungen haben und noch einige andere Kleinigkeiten. Aber es summiert sich halt. Und vielen Dank für das Verständnis. Das Geld wird gebraucht und es wird wahrlich nicht verschwendet. Und ich bin natürlich auch froh, dass wir Jahr für Jahr attestiert bekommen, dass unsere Finanzen absolut in Ordnung sind. Das machen unabhängige Prüfer. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, entsprechend den Regeln, die eben der Ministerrat immer wieder beschließt, entfallen auf die einzelnen Mitgliedsländer die bestimmten Quoten an Beitragszahlungen. Das geht natürlich von 1.500 Euro im Jahr bis etwas mehr. Aber trotzdem stimmt unser Haushalt überein. Und ich freue mich, Ihnen sagen zu können, dass praktisch alle Mitgliedsländer bis auf eines auch wieder ihren Jahresbeitrag geleistet haben und somit unsere Organisationen stärken. Natürlich können Sie auch zusätzlich die Organisation, also die OSZE-Parlamentarierversammlung unterstützen, wenn Sie zum Beispiel aus Ihren Ländern Personal abordnen und somit kostenlos der Organisation zur Verfügung stellen. Italien macht das dankbarerweise mit 2 Personen oder Dänemark und Österreich machen es, indem sie uns Räumlichkeiten kostenlos zur Verfügung stellen. Das sollte man auch nicht unterschätzen. Und natürlich auch, indem sie eine Tagung, wie so eine Jahrestagung hier ausrichten. Denn das kostet auch eine Kleinigkeit. Und ich danke natürlich dem Deutschen Bundestag, meinen Kolleginnen und Kollegen des Deutschen Bundestages, dass sie dieses Jahr die Mittel aufbringen. Und ich freue mich, dass dann Kirgisistan im Herbst uns eingeladen hat für die Herbsttagung und nächstes Jahr Luxemburg für die Jahrestagung uns eingeladen hat und Marokko für die Herbsttagung. Also ich kann Sie nur auffordern, wer es noch nicht getan hat, laden Sie uns bitte ein, unterstützen Sie damit auch unsere eigene Organisation. Und natürlich gibt es auch die Möglichkeit, ungebundene zusätzliche Mittel der Organisation zur Verfügung zu stellen, um damit zum Beispiel Seminare auszurichten. Bevor ich schließe, möchte ich mich noch mal ganz ausdrücklich bei unserem Generalsekretär und seinem ganzen Mitarbeiterstab für die außerordentlich gute Zusammenarbeit zu bedanken, aber vor allem, dass Sie mit Ihren 20 Leuten, das müssen Sie sich vorstellen, 20 Leute stemmen das alles, hier so eine hervorragende Arbeit machen. Also ein ganz, ganz dicker Applaus bitte an unsere Kollegen vom Sekretariat in Kopenhagen und in Wien. Herzlichen Dank.
Dankeschön. Thank you. Dear Doris, are there any questions to Doris? I think everything was clear, and we discussed the issue also at the Standing Committee, as I said. So, once again, we appreciate your great work, personally yours, and in cooperation with our Secretariat in Vienna and Copenhagen. That's also fair to mention. And now, whether good initiative of Roberto Montella and then ours would like to make this small reflection of our appreciations. Just a reminder that it's another hot football day today. Let's see. Doris, you'll be a good player. Thank you for that. You are a good player. So we are now getting to another point of our agenda. And of course, it was said many times and even applauded the work of Secretariat. I'd like to ask our Secretary General, Roberto Montella, to address Assembly with his report, which partly he did already at the Standing Committee, but there are many things to say. Dear Roberto, please, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, took a moment of silence after many days of speeches just to express the fact that I'm very proud and very impressed and I must say a little bit intimidated to take the floor in front of you, the representatives of 1 billion citizens from Vancouver to Vladivostok. We've done great work here, and it is indeed a bit emotional for me to address you here. Thank you, Doris. Thank you, Doris. I know this is something that we normally do at every annual session. We have to thank the host country, but this is not simply a formality. It's really coming out of our heart. We would like to thank you, the German delegation, the Bundestag, and everybody. Of course, we cannot mention everybody, but every single person who's been involved in this exercise, the volunteers who are outside, those who are at the airport, those who have arranged the bus, transport, etc. You've done a great job, and this is something that we very much appreciate. So thank you very much. We are here gathered because we are in the framework of the OSCE. So let me say a few words about the OSCE. Last year in Minsk, we had 4 empty chairs. We had 4 signs for the OSCE Secretariat, the OSCE Director, the Freedom of the Media, the High Commissioner for National Minorities, but there were no people. The OSCE didn't have any individuals identified for these positions. Now the OSCE has identified 4 strong, motivated, authoritative leaders. You've heard Thomas Greminger, Lamberto Zanier, the High Commissioner for National Minorities, Harlem Desir, the Freedom of Media, and ODIHR Director, the successor of Michael Link, Gisla Dottir. Those 4 leaders of the OSCE have given the OSCE a new boost, and the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly in this framework has worked very well, has cooperated with all these institutions, and cooperation has been discussed here many times. What we have found as a key for this cooperation is a cooperation based on the final result. It's not just a cooperation to be friendly with each other or to be kind to each other, this is normal, but it's a cooperation focused on how we can best deliver for the end users of the OSCE product, those you represent. This is what the OSCE is about. It's not about self-aggrandizing 4 different institutions, but it's about putting together all these assets, all the differences of these institutions, and put them to work for the benefits of the OSCE citizens from Vancouver to Vladivostok, those you represent. So I think this is an excellent sign of cooperation within the international framework. The budget. You've heard from Ambassador Greminger the difficulties that the governmental side has in passing a budget or the politicization of the budget cycle in the OSCE. We are here lucky. You've heard that we've received a substantial increase of our budget. Just a small correction, Doris mentioned that it's a budget to increase our salaries. There are no salary increases in our budget. This is a budget to increase some of the activities that we will deliver and also to strengthen our research fellow program. But we appreciate the increase in budget because it shows that you have trust in our work and you have trust in how we deliver this work to service you, the members of parliament. For the last 3 years, there's been requests for us to increase the budget. I was very hesitant in bringing a budget increase because first I wanted to do some homework. I wanted to introduce in the Parliamentary Assembly new rules and regulations, financial rules and regulations, so that we would come up to you and ask for an increase based on the homework that we had done before. And also here I'd like to thank the OSC executive structure, Greminger, but it was Umberto Zanger before, who gave us the key on what kind of rules and regulations, what kind of financial rules and regulations we should introduce in our assembly in order to manage our finances. We've introduced also more internal oversight by hiring a new chief of administration and finance. So the budget increase we have received is in good hands, and of course we will continue to administer these funds very carefully. Mais, ça je le dirai en français, la plus grande ressource de l'Assemblée parlementaire, ce n'est pas seulement le budget qu'on reçoit et les membres du staff que vous voyez ici. La plus grande ressource, c'est les membres du Parlement, c'est vous. Nos activités sont faites par vous dans les observations électorales, dans l'émission sur la migration, sur le terrorisme. C'est une assemblée qui appartient aux membres du Parlement. Les membres du Parlement sont la seule autorité qui a le droit d'ordonner et l'autorité pour agir. Songez de construire une assemblée parlementaire au dehors de la souveraineté et de la primauté de la politique, c'est aller nulle part, c'est faire une chimère. Donc il ne faut jamais oublier qu'on est dans le contexte d'une assemblée parlementaire et l'assemblée parlementaire appartient aux membres. C'est eux qui nous donnent la direction, c'est eux qui nous donnent la vision de ce qu'on va faire. Nous, on est aussi au service de l'assemblée parlementaire et on met en place ce que vous voulez que nous on fasse. President Saratelli, a word for you. You've been extremely active. I said this in the Standing Committee. You've been a very strong president, and you've managed to break some of the old taboos that sometimes we've had in the OSCE areas in general. Many were thinking, is it possible to have a president who comes from a country who has difficulties with a neighboring country? Some were thinking, is it possible to have a president from a small country? Some also were critical sometimes, or, well, a president who comes from the opposition in his own domestic agenda, can it be a good president? You have demonstrated in these 8 months when you were acting president after Christine Mouton, whom we salute, left this assembly. You've demonstrated that you've been a very strong and engaged president, a person who has put also his personal touch, I must say, and also his personal heart in this work. So we look forward to working with you in the months to come. This Berlin session has been an incredible success, I must say. It's a record high of participation. We have 915 people participating, 261 members of parliament. It's a record high also for the participation of civil society and NGOs. We've had a big number of side events. Sometimes it was difficult to move from one event to the other. But this proves to the fact that there is a great enthusiasm in the Assembly. I felt it yesterday at the receptions or in all the moments when I've interacted with you. There is a great desire to engage. There is a great desire to participate in all our activities. So we cherish this enthusiasm, we appreciate this atmosphere, and most importantly also we appreciate the contribution, the interactions that we've had with civil society, with NGOs here. Of course, this is an assembly of elected politicians, of members, but it is healthy also to engage with civil society, with NGOs, to get stimulated by their ideas, and some have come up, and we will also be more present at the Human Dimension Implementation meeting organized by the ODIHR, which is the moment where also the organization interacts with civil society. A word about election observation missions, which is normally our, say, flagship of the organization. We've had 4 elections since our last meeting in Vienna. We've had an election in Italy, in Russia, in Azerbaijan and Turkey. The elections in Italy, it was recalled by the representative of Italy, was in a country which is not the traditional country where we observed, but last September we were in Germany, we observed elections in the UK, we will observe elections, the midterm elections in the US. This shows that we have no double standards. We don't observe elections normally in the traditional country we were observed in the past, but we also go to other countries where we think there are no issues, but we do not want to have an assembly that has any double standards. So we observe east and west of Vienna, as we normally say in Vienna. One thing I would like to underline, two of these elections were snap elections. We had not foreseen them, Azerbaijan and Turkey, yet the International Secretariat, and you see here a small team, has managed to deploy rapidly missions. I think we have provided a good service for those who have observed these elections. So this testimony is also at our capacity to be flexible and to be rapid in deployment of missions. In the context of election observation, we've also seen this report from the Council of Europe. You've all probably been active, and it's been discussed a little bit also in some of the side events. This investigation into wrongdoings and allegations of corruptions of some members who have participated in election observation in the Council of Europe. Of course, we have to be very vigilant. It has touched the Council of Europe, but here we are not in competition. Here, if it has touched the Council of Europe, it's something that affects us, and we are sorry that this happened there, and nobody's immune. Sometimes it could happen that something could happen to us as well. So rather than being reactive to this kind of allegations of wrongdoing, we will be proactive, and instead of putting together a committee after a scandal has erupted, we will try to be preemptive and introduce in this assembly some guidelines. We have already a code of conduct for members who observe elections, but I think we should take a proactive approach and introduce ourselves some proactive measures and some guidelines. Ambassador Notello, who is here from Germany, I would like to pay tribute to his work in the Assembly, will be in charge for our Assembly. He's a lawyer, he has been in the Assembly for many years, he knows parliamentary procedures, he comes from the Bundestag. He will help us draft some basic guidelines that then will be presented to the Bureau, to the President, and to the Standing Committee for adoption. But this will be the path we will follow, and I'm sure we will address some of the concerns that I've also heard informally being addressed in some of the side events. As Secretary General of a Parliamentary Assembly, though, I see my role as the one of protecting the honorability, the respectability of members of Parliament. I cannot accept that in general debate there is a group of experts or people or investigators who think that they have the monopoly of honesty, of truth, of integrity, and then there are another group, the parliamentarians, who have somehow to justify or to demonstrate that they have integrity. You know, my job here is to protect the honorability, the respect of members of parliament. So we will, of course, work very closely with all those who are interested in coming up with guidelines on how to prevent any wrongdoing. But with that in mind, that the members of parliament's honorability and honesty doesn't have to be demonstrated, it's already a given, but safeguards have to be put in place to avoid any kind of wrongdoings. The activities of the Parliamentary Assembly, I will not dwell too much, but I will just flag up the work of the Committee on Terrorism, headed by Makis Voridis, and the work of the Committee on Migration, headed by Ms. Landry. They've done a lot of work, concrete work, which is not just coming up with a report, but going into the field, going to meet refugees, going to meet terrorists in prison or alleged terrorists who are trying to go through, you heard yesterday from the Norwegian Deputy Speaker, through a period of rehabilitation. So I think we are doing concrete things which go beyond the simple issuing of reports and presentation of resolutions, but we're doing some activities on the ground. And I think this is something I'm very proud of this Assembly, is that yes, parliamentarians parlano, they speak, but they also do a lot of things in this assembly, and they do concrete work. So of this, I'm very appreciative of your work. The reform agenda of the OSCE, you've heard Ambassador Greminger, we are fully supportive of his efforts to improve the organization. The ideas that he has put in place are very common sense ideas, are ideas that try to make the organization more fit for purpose. This is what we've always said, we want this organization to deliver on what it has been established for. So Ambassador Greminger, rest assured that this assembly here has your ideas in its mind and will fully support you. Of course, we also have an internal OSCPA reform process led by Lord Bonas and a group of experts that the President Tsereteli has put together. And also there, the International Secretariat will accompany the work of this reform group within the Parliamentary Assembly, because we want to make our efforts and our work here also more efficient in the Parliamentary Assembly, and there is always space for improvement. And I do urge you indeed to approach us sometimes, and if you feel that some of the procedures here are not really how you want them to be, please approach us and we'll try to make this organization as more interesting and as more effective in line with what you desire. Now, this is my speech, but I would like to also recognize some of the members of our bureau who have left since we last met in Vienna. Marietta Tidei, our vice president, left the assembly and has become a regional governor and regional councillor in Italy. Guglielmo Picchi, also was a member of our bureau, has left. You saw him at the inauguration. He has become deputy foreign minister, and we're very happy for that. And Ignacio Sanchez Amor, who led our last efforts in Turkey, also has left this assembly and has become a cabinet minister in Spain with a very important portfolio. So we salute these departing members. There are two other members who also are leaving the assembly, who are still here today, and they are in this room. So I would like to recognize them, and I will start with Kent Harstead is there. Kent is leaving the assembly in September. He has worked with us for many years, since 2010. He has been vice president. He has led many election observation missions. He has observed in many countries. He has led one of the most historical election observation missions in October 2014 in Ukraine, with the biggest number of observers ever, I think, 1,000 observers under his leadership. So, Kent, we would like to congratulate you for your work here. We know that you are not far away from Copenhagen, so we will be seeing you, and we will hopefully continue to work with you. But we would like to thank you for your work here, and we would like to invite you here a second, because we have a little present for you. Un altro membro dell'Assemblea parlamentare che ci lascia è l'onorevole Roberto Battelli. Ora, per me è difficile trovare parole per definire l'onorevole Roberto Battelli, perché Roberto Battelli è l'Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE, è qui da quando l'Assemblea parlamentare è stata creata, è stato il primo membro dell'Assemblea e il decano, si dice in italiano, dell'Assemblea parlamentare, ha appena lasciato il Parlamento un mese fa, ma ha fatto tantissimi lavori in questa Assemblea, è stato per 3 anni vicepresidente, è stato a lunghi anni tesoriere dell'Assemblea parlamentare, è stato a lungo il rappresentante speciale dell'Assemblea parlamentare nel Sud-Est Europa, e per me che ho lavorato nel Sud-Est Europa vi posso garantire che è una autorità in quella regione. Le sue dichiarazioni in materia elettorale, ma su altre questioni, diventano dottrina nei Balcani. Quindi Roberto, il tuo lavoro è veramente una cosa che nel sud-est Europa tutti riconoscono, ma non solo nel sud-est Europa, perché hai lavorato in tutte le regioni dell'OSCE. Di questo ti ringraziamo e ti preghiamo di venire qui a prendere un piccolo segno. Your book is a little bigger because I hope Kent doesn't feel that it's just a little perfect. And just as a token here this time, I hope the number says it all.
27 years.
It's 27 years. Okay, nice ceremony. I have one last point and I'm finished, and before I get to those questions if there are. Of course, all these efforts is not a one-man show here. It's the work of the International Secretariat is the effort of all my colleagues, and most of them are here, research fellows and permanent staff, the Deputy Secretary Generals. In Copenhagen and Vienna, we have a small staff, 20 members, helped by some research fellows, but it is our responsibility to make sure that everything runs on time and that everything is of your satisfaction. And we do this with little resources in terms of salary, but with a great heart and very much appreciative of doing this work for you, because we feel that we are engaged in something that is beyond an ordinary job, but it is something that has relevance in world politics. Thank you very much.
Yes, we have to follow procedure, but once again, Roberto, very much appreciate, your not only report, it was a very, I think, wide, insightful, informative speech, a very clear vision. I had a feeling, being many years in the Parliament, I'm listening not to, let's say, Secretary General or a representative of the executive branch and a bureaucratic structure, but to the very experienced politician and member of parliament. So maybe one day we'll see you in this capacity, have a great abilities for that, but we see also the great work of Secretary General and all the Secretariat in Vienna, also in Copenhagen, and we're really proud of that, and we will try, and we have to preserve all those, let's say, values and capacity and capabilities that we have in this assembly. And of course, very shortly, my very kind word goes to dear Kent, dear friend, and he will continue very active work. Also, I think that he will be also always very close to the Parliamentary Assembly, because it's the place when you enjoy the work and we enjoy the work with you. And of course, my good friend, dear Batelli, dear Vice President, and I think one of the most decent personalities I met here in this OSCE space, and between our colleagues. Thank you for your modesty, and thank you for being great colleague and very devoted, not only to the specific region, but to all of us and to all the OSCE, and a well understanding values of this organization. Thanks a lot. According to procedures, there should be questions. It's not obligatory, but we have one. Mr. Down from Canada will ask the question, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the Secretary General for his report. I was particularly pleased to hear about the work he started on guidelines to fight the rot of corruption, which we all have to be on guard against on a continuous basis. I'm concerned that in addition to guidelines, we have to have enforcement. Part of the problem, as I saw it in the Council of Europe, the people who should have behaved in a very honorable manner when allegations were made against them and stepped aside did not do that. And it turned out there was little or no mechanism to enforce the high standards that we would expect of everyone else. So I would hope, in addition to the guidelines, you have an enforcement mechanism, and thirdly, that there's a transparency component so we understand what conflicts people may have. People in Parliament have many things going on. That's part of our work, but we need to be made aware of what those conflicts are so we know who we're dealing with. I thank you for the initiative, and I look forward to your report next year on what has been done and where we're headed in that area before we end up in a major mess.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Let's end with this very... sorry, you have to respond. I'm sorry about it. No more questions, no, please.
Thank you very much for the question. Indeed, I call them guidelines, but I would say safeguards or any mechanism within the capabilities and the resources that the International Secretariat has, of course. We will put in place a set. We do have a code of conduct, a very stringent code of conduct, which allows, in the framework of election observation missions, the special coordinator to expel a member who has engaged in some activities, and that has been actually implemented a couple of times by Sanchez Amor, who has now left. So indeed, I take your point. It should not be something lukewarm or just mere guidelines. And in that vein, we will work also very closely with the Council of Europe. I've been, it might be not a surprise for you, but I've been in touch a lot with the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. I've received the detailed dossier, both of the allegations, but also the guidelines and the practices that they have put in place, this new code of conduct that they've put in place. And with Ambassador Notella, we will study the ways, the means of making sure that all the good practices, all the acquis that is in that document of the Council of Europe can be implemented in the Parliamentary Assembly. But again, I say within the framework of our resources, because if that guideline says the Parliamentary Assembly should request the financial display of each member, if under the current circumstance of the International Secretariat in Copenhagen, if I receive 321 financial disclosures, I don't have, and my colleagues here, they do not have the capability to either store this data or to either make an intelligence analysis of these or look at bank transactions. We do not have that kind of capability within our Secretariat. So I think what we will try to do is go more into the line, but again, Ambassador Notella here is sovereign in this and he will come up with guidelines. But I think, I imagine that the draft we will present to the Bureau and the Standing Committee will be going more into the direction of self-declaration, a declaration that each member under his own or her own responsibility says, I do not have a conflict of interest with that particular country, therefore I can go and observe an election, or I do not have any particular conflict of interest with that company of that particular country, so I can be engaged in activity there. I think this is more or less where we're going, but I will keep you updating you in the months to come, because this is a very serious issue. It's something that we have to not take lukewarmly, we have to address it seriously. We are lucky again that it's not touched our assembly with any scandals, but in today's world you never know. I mean, it's very easy with social medias to immediately put stain on anybody. And again, the stain, or if you like, I mean, the embarrassment that our colleagues from Council of Europe have felt is not something that we are happy about. I mean, we are extremely upset about it, and we feel very sorry. We don't say, oh, well, it's them, thank God it's not us. It's something that involves all of us, because these are members of Parliament. And again, as I said, it is the responsibility of civil servants who work for parliamentarians to ensure the honorability, the credibility, the respectabilities of members of Parliament. Thank you.
Okay, there are no other questions, so we can end this section of our agenda. And now it's a very important part, is adoption of the Berlin final document. We'll now consider the draft Berlin Declaration, which consists of the final resolutions from each of the three committees, together with the supplementary items referred to the general committees and the plenary, which were considered by the drafting committee yesterday. Under paragraph 2 of Rule 39 of our Rules and Procedure, no further amendments can be proposed at this stage. And please keep this in mind for certain parliamentarians. First of all, we vote on the resolutions passed by each of the three general committees. Then we will take the supplementary items that were sent to the committees. In accordance with paragraph 3, Rule 39, I'm intentionally speaking slow to understand well. Paragraph 3 of Rule 39. The drafting committee met and produced this draft declaration and draft resolutions of the Assembly, as well as the preamble. Lord Bonus chaired the drafting committee, and thank you, dear Peter, doing this job. Thanks. There are some minor technical changes in the text before you, but there are no changes of substance in anything the drafting committee has done on our behalf yesterday. And we will now consider the draft declaration. If there is an objection to a paragraph, only the following may speak. And again, please, that's the intention of speakers who are quite active in this field. I don't know if they have this experience or not, to know rules and procedures well. Just to keep in mind what I'm telling to you. One speaker against the paragraph. One speaker is in favor. The rapporteur or chairman, and that's it. So now will be a draft declaration for the first committee. And we'll now take the preamble and paragraphs from 1 to 47 of that declaration. Does anyone want a separate vote of any of paragraphs?
Point of order.
Please. Procedural matter, please.
Слышно, нет? Уважаемый представитель, по процедуре ведения возможно ли? Как мы знаем с вами, что демократия – это в первую очередь соблюдение процедуры. По мнению наших коллег, сюда в итоговую декларацию берлинскую мы считаем, с нарушением регламента включена декларация по Крыму и Севастополю. Объясню почему. Пункт правила 24, пункт 3. В случае, когда член ассамблеи зарегистрировался для участия, но не может участвовать в ежегодной сессии в связи с выполнением неотложных обязательств, его или ее подписи остаются действительными при условии, что глава делегации надлежащим образом уведомил об этом председателя ассамблеи. Как мы знаем, что коллеги Герасимов и Геращенко были зарегистрированы на данную сессию, но в ней не участвуют в настоящий момент. И у нас есть информация, что требования о надлежащего образа уведомления председателя ассамблеи не были выполнены. Как минимум о том, что нету информации о новом главе украинской делегации, а также эти два человека, можно считать, подписи считаются недействительными. В связи с этим у нас встает вопрос о количестве подписей за резолюцию о Крыме и Севастополе и вызывает сомнения о юридическом и на основании действующего регламента его включения в итоговый документ. Поэтому мы просим коллег, во-первых, предлагаем снять сегодня эту дополнительную резолюцию из общей резолюции итоговой и перенести на следующую сессию. Спасибо большое за возможность выступить.
Спасибо вам за, так сказать, вопрос или ваше мнение. I would like to make one clarification. First of all, we are here a team, and there are experts and there are people who know maybe better the rules of procedure than me and many of us. So we will go to this issue back when there will be a consideration of this supplementary item. But just to say now, and as a let's say introduction, the International Secretariat is not been officially informed, but that Mr. Gerasimov is not present in the annual session. There were a few phone calls, then verbally we've been informed about this, of course, and his accreditation was taken by the Ukrainian delegation. So I think that was quite clear what could be procedures and how we could follow with the delegation. But again, we'll discuss it a little bit more maybe when the time comes that we will go to this
Предоставить тогда просим
with the
информацию.
section of supplementary
Спасибо.
items. And as I understand, so it's 11:45. I'd like to apologize first of all to our interpreters, but we might work a little bit more than it's necessary, than was planned because of possible discussion on supplementary items. Well, just to gain time, is there any? Okay, this is also procedure. Well, please, but that's not a procedural thing to take floor. But what the question is, please.
Okay, now it works. Sorry for wasting that time, but thanks to the German delegation, I managed to switch on my micro. Sorry, President, just it might be taken as a technical issue, but in pursuit for perfection, paragraphs 40 and 42 are about Moldova, and 41 is on Georgia. So may I propose that we just move paragraph 42 right after paragraph 40, because that's the logical place on Moldova. So if there are no any objections, I think we simply can agree on this approach. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Christian. It's not on my behalf I can speak now, but the rules are here. So I've been told by our advisor that it's not possible. We could not make any changes at this moment in the order. So thank you very much for advice, but it's not the case. So we'll now take the preamble and paragraphs of 1 to 47 on the draft declaration. Does anyone want to separate vote on any of the paragraphs? It's not the case. Thank you very much. So we will take the preamble and the paragraphs, and we did it. So any objection? No. The preamble and paragraphs 1 to 47 are agreed. Now that the draft declaration second committee, we will now take paragraphs from 48 to 99 of the draft declaration. Does anyone want a separate vote of any of these paragraphs? No, it's not the case. Thank you. So we'll take paragraphs 48 to 99 together. Any objections? No, thank you. It's adopted. Paragraphs 48 to 99 are agreed to. Now, third committee draft declaration. The third committee will now take paragraphs from 100 to 171 of the draft declaration. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? No, thank you. So we'll take paragraphs 100 to 171 together. Any objection? No. Thank you. Paragraphs 100 to 171 are agreed to. We now come to consider the supplementary items from the three general committees. In the plenary, we have already agreed that supplementary items on minors, on the move, the role of OSCE and OSCE Parliamentary Assembly in building an effective protection framework and on preventing and combating gender-based violence. We agreed that on plenary, so we'll move now straight to the next supplementary item. preventing and countering terrorism, violent extremism, and radicalization that leads to terrorism. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Agree? Anybody's against? Any objection? No separate votes? Okay, so we'll take the resolution as a whole. No objections? Thank you. No objections. Resolution is agreed. Now, the resolution 10 years after the August 2008 war in Georgia. Is the Parliamentary Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? No any separate votes on any paragraphs? No. So we'll take the resolution as a whole. Any objections to the resolution? No, it's not the case. Thank you. The resolution is agreed. Thank you very much. Strengthening the OSCE approach to supporting security sector governance and reform in participating in partner states. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Yes, it's a not objection. So we'll take resolution as a whole. Any objections to the resolution? No, thank you. The resolution agreed. Reaffirming a commitment and guarantee of the effective operation of the OSCE. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Thank you. No objections. Any other requests? Against? No. Resolution agreed. Strengthen the visibility of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly within the national parliaments of participating states. I think you're content to consider as a whole. No other idea. Thank you. So we'll take this resolution now as a whole. Any objections? Adopted. We're working well. Thank you. Promoting connectivity in the OSCE area through development of transport links and corridors, including by revitalizing the ancient Silk Road. Assembly wants to consider as a whole. Thank you. We're considering as a whole. Any objections to the resolution? No. Adopted. Thank you. Shared priority, fostering peace and security through enabling young people and reach their full potential. Good. Is the Assembly content to consider it as a whole resolution? Not the case. Anybody's against? No. Thank you. It's adopted. Promotion of the digital economy in the interest of ensuring economic growth in OSCE area. So we're considering as a whole. No objections? Okay. Any other ideas? No. Thank you. Resolution agreed. Connectivity and an alignment of integration processes in the OSCE area. So, considering as a whole, nobody's against. We're considering resolution as a whole. Anybody's against? No objections? No. Thank you. Response to demographic challenges in the OSCE area. We're considering as a whole. I'm asking. Nobody disagree. So we'll take it as a whole, the resolution. Any objections to the resolution? No. Thank you. Adopted. Implementing trafficking-free communities. Is the Assembly considered the resolution as a whole? No. Not against? Nobody? Resolution we're taking as a whole. Any objections? No. Countering propaganda for hatred and war in the OSCE area. Assembly content to consider the whole resolution. Anybody's against? No. So resolution we're taking as a whole. Any objections? No. Thank you. Violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the Russian Federation. Is the Assembly content to consider the resolution as a whole? Okay. Now we'll stop and So just I will clarify once again what will be procedure for this. So in case if you are against to consider it as a whole, then you have to say which paragraph or who will move that, who will speak up about this, which paragraph you'd like to consider separately. Please, Mr. Tolstoy, floor is yours.
Спасибо, господин Церетели. Российская делегация против рассмотрения этой резолюции и следующей резолюции, касающейся российского Крыма и русского города Севастополя. Мы считаем, что в данном случае нарушен регламент нашей Ассамблеи. Еще раз хочу напомнить уважаемому Президиуму, что демократия, те самые ценности, от имени которых вы постоянно делаете заявления, это процедура. И процедура должна быть соблюдена. Отсутствие депутатов, которые подписывали эти резолюции и выдвигали голословные обвинения против моей страны, является нарушением регламента нашей Ассамблеи. Уважаемые коллеги, вряд ли кто-то из вас согласится, что мы все должны здесь присутствовать, а есть отдельные депутаты, у которых есть телефон господина Церетели, которые могут звонить господину Церетели и по телефону сообщать ему о том, что их не будет на том или ином заседании. У нас существует регламент. В регламенте сказано, что член Ассамблеи в случае своего отсутствия должен надлежащим образом уведомить председателя. Не по мобильному телефону, а письменно. В связи с этим делегация Российской Федерации категорически возражает против включения в проект итоговой декларации резолюции госпожи Сегерфельд, под которой стоит подпись Герасимова, и резолюции Герасимова, который отсутствует на сегодняшней сессии. Просим господина Церетели дать соответствующие разъяснения в связи с нарушением этого пункта регламента. Спасибо.
Thank you. Thank you. So once again, we have a capacity here to respond to such emerging, let's say, and extraordinary situations by our experts here. So once again, I'd like to tell you what's clarification to this issue. So additionally, what he said, Mr. Gerasimov's supplementary item received 24 valid signatures in support, meaning that even with Mr. Gerasimov's absence, his item is valid. This is our experts' conclusion. The supplementary item, in accordance with the rules of procedures, was considered in the third committee, and it's put to the plenary for consideration. I consider this request, your request, which is according, I mean, we have this in procedure, this request as a procedural motion, and it's also advice from our experts here, to remove the supplementary. So your motion to remove the supplementary item under rule of 25. So you'd like to remove this supplementary item under rule of our procedures. And then I will therefore, according again our rules procedure, hear the proposer of the motion and one speaker against of this motion to speak 1 minute each. So the procedure which offered by our advisors here is this. You could now, the initiator of this supplementary item or respective member of or head of delegation will promote this, will propose this, and then you will have a right to speak against this, and then we'll be voting. Am I right?
No, it's... Я говорю не о том, что у меня есть какие-то пожелания, а я говорю о том, что нарушен регламент. И прошу вас, как председателя нашей ассамблеи, проверить все подписи под этими двумя резолюциями, а пока они не проверены, не выносить их на голосование и не включать их в проект итоговой декларации. Считаю, что таким образом вы, как господин председатель, и вся ваша команда проявите уважение к тем членам Ассамблеи, которые сегодня здесь присутствуют, а не по телефону решают вопросы из Киева. Спасибо.
Господин Толстой, я думаю, что я проявляю уважение к вашей делегации, лично к вам. Мы вас слушаем, но мы будем действовать по, так сказать, тем правилам, которые есть в нашей Ассамблее. Я вас очень попрошу. Я вас попрошу, чтобы, так сказать, тоже конструктивно относились. We will, of course, consider what you said, but everything will be according to the rule. I'm not deciding over the rules here. Rules are already decided. I'm the person entitled and trusted by you to speak sometimes over the issue. So I understand your point. I will ask now again our secretariat if it's anything problematic with the signatures, because we checked it and it was no problem. But again, so we've been informed that Gerasimov is not coming. Now we will also more thoroughly, in maybe a second, just get the information again. Please, we have other rules here too, please. We are now checking signatures as you offered. Okay, so again, everything is transparent here. We checked all the signatures, they are valid. It's more than necessary 20, it was 24. So even in the case if we, as interpreted by our experts here, and they are not your, let's say, enemies, or you are all equal for them as for me maybe. But, so the procedure is that signatures are valid. There was information is not coming. Even if you did not receive, as it was explained, the written letter, so there were different communications in common world. There are messages, there are other ways, so I spoke many times, and also there were messages, and I'd like also to ask maybe Ukrainian delegation to clarify the situation, because we could not stop on this and discuss 1 hour. I'm very sorry for that. Now it's Mr. Tolstoy, just a second, I'll give you floor. I will give you floor, but once again, I'd like to clarify what could be a procedure for this. Now, as your proposal to remove it, we will vote for this. And then we will see, according to the procedure, we will vote to another step. It will be to vote for this supplementary item. Please.
Поняли, что я имею в виду? У меня тоже в данном случае нет никаких особых претензий лично к вам. Я говорю о том, что если нет письменного подтверждения действительности подписей украинской делегации, для нас это означает, что секретариат недолжным образом проверяет наличие депутатов на сессии и действительность их подписей. Для нас отсутствие подписей Герасимова и Геращенко ставит под сомнение все 24 или там 27 подписей, которые под этими декларациями стоят. И, соответственно, мы именно поэтому, в силу правил процедуры, опираясь на регламент, просим вас, уважаемый господин председательствующий, отложить эти две резолюции с тем, чтобы секретариат разобрался, были ли вообще там какие-то подписи. Если вы не можете нам дать пояснение по этим двум, где гарантия, что у вас есть пояснение по остальным 24? Для меня, например, при всем уважении к вам, хотелось бы проверить в этом смысле работу секретариата. Спасибо.
Well, once again, and I think that we will not continue with this. Mr. Tolstoy, we're politicians. If you'd like to hear what you'd like to hear, in this situation, I could not provide this. I could not provide only one thing as the information, which are based on our experts and our lawyers' conclusions. That's only what I can tell you as the information. I could not please you now with the answer which will be nice to you. No, that's not a question, and we are here assembly. How you are deciding over the disputes in your parliamentary assembly? If there is anything we could not agree on, then there is a voting. We don't have any other mechanism to do that. Then, at this moment is that I understand that if you are not personally maybe criticizing me in this moment, but I'm in charge at this moment, and I'm in charge to tell you what's the conclusions of lawyers and people who know procedures well. So if you agree with colleagues, we will go and follow procedures now. So the one and first, that will be motion from Russian delegation or Mr. Who will speak about this? We will now listen to you in 1 minute, again, your arguments, why to remove the supplementary item, from the agenda. Please.
Еще раз, уважаемые коллеги, я хочу аргументировать нашу позицию. Она заключается не в том, что мы задаем вопрос господину Церетели, на который господин Церетели пытается ответить. Это не так. Мы с вами видим, что нарушены правила регламента. Они нарушены. Авторы резолюции, которые под ними подписываются, не присутствуют на ассамблее. Санчес Амор, господин Герасимов и так далее. Господин Геращенко. Значит, мы имеем дело с резолюциями, которые выдвинуты нашими коллегами, отсутствующими на ассамблее. Более того, в эти резолюции от их имени внесены поправки. Это ставит под сомнение целостность и содержание всего текста резолюции. Это вопрос демократической процедуры и регламента. Она нарушена, мы на этом настаиваем. И мы предлагаем снять эти резолюции из итогового документа этой сессии. Еще раз повторяю, господин Церетели, это не вопрос того, что вы считаете, это вопрос буквы закона и регламента, который вы, как председатель, обязаны соблюдать. Это не вопрос вашего желания, это ваша обязанность, которую вам доверили сидящие здесь депутаты парламентов. Поэтому ничего личного. Российская Федерация настаивает на том, чтобы 2 пункта дополнительных, пункт госпожи Сегерфельд о нарушениях прав человека и пункт господина Герасимова, отсутствующего здесь, о российском Крыме и Севастополе, были сняты из итоговой декларации. Спасибо.
Well, I will clarify it finally, and I don't want to get back to this issue. I understand your point, Mr. Tolstoy. So this is a clarification, and you can look simultaneously what I'm doing now in your let's say, book of our procedures. Rule 24, paragraph number 3, provision. In the event that a member of the Assembly who registered for but cannot attend the annual session due to unavoidable obligations, I'm intentionally slow, his or her signatures shall remain valid provided that the President of the Assembly is notified accordingly by the head of delegation. It's nowhere, it's does not say, what does it mean accordingly? Accordingly is pigeon could deliver the letter. I'm sorry for the joke, but it should be written, it should be an SMS, it should be Viber, it should be WhatsApp, it should be email, it should be, I mean, many things accordingly. I consider myself, and here all our experts, that it was information accordingly. You are not, agree with this. Let's people to decide. Where is, please, I can also shout. Will do that. Sorry, Mr. Tolstoy. We are experienced people. You've been vice speaker. I chaired 8 years parliamentary sessions. I know. I will be very calm, but let's please understand what we're doing now. Here are rules. If we will now make a discussion what accordingly means, we will go nowhere. So let's work with the procedures. I can ask Assembly, move the process according procedure, or continue what the work accordingly means. Please tell me. Yeah, I'd like to ask for a small clarification because he is a chair of the Rules and Procedures Committee, and sorry, dear Peter, for listening my lengthy explanations, but I'm chairing the session. Please. No, it's not microphone, it's not on, Peter, please.
Подождать надо.
President, you'll have to rely on my voice. I don't want to in any way question the advice that you have received from your procedural advisors. That is not my place. But as I understand it, we have been told, and it's there in black and white, that there are signatures may be considered valid even if people are not here in certain circumstances. Secondly, we have been told that irrespective of that, there are enough signatures for the matter to remain valid. That being the case, I move to the Assembly that we should now move to the vote on these two paragraphs.
Thank you, Peter, for your clarification. That was what I tried also to outline several times. Now, Mr. Tolstoy, we are, according to the rule, will support, let's say, your motion, support to discuss it, or not discuss it, but to give you right to say once again, if you'd like, or put it on voting. So let's do that. It's as a motion. Therefore, we could hear the proposer of the motion.
No, the procedural motion.
Dear Mr. President, I'd like to speak on behalf of Ukrainian delegation on the supplementary issue which was submitted by our chair of the delegation, Mr. Gerasimov. First of all, I would like to send regrets by Mr. Gerasimov, who had to stay in Ukraine. As I was telling today in the morning, the country is at war, and he is leading the largest political fraction in Ukraine. So that's why, because of escalation in Donbass, he had to stay in Ukraine to deal with emerging issues. However, as it was discussed here, and as everybody witnessed, Russia is recreating the rules, the world order. They do not see the way we see what is happening today in Berlin. So I encourage you to see reality. We have enough of votes. All the Ukrainian members of Ukrainian delegations were present. Which signatures do you want to contest? My colleagues who are here present from other delegations, my signature, what do you want to contest? You don't possess the right to challenge each and every rule everywhere with your weapons and everywhere with your money, bribing everywhere. So stop it right now and go to procedures.
Thank you. Enough. I mean, it's very clear. So Russian delegation spoke about their motion. 4. There was also clarification for who is against. Now I will put this motion on voting, and then we need, just also the information, we need 2/3 majority of the votes cast to this request to remove the item to be adopted. So now I'd like to start the voting procedure. And now, who is for? Who is in favor of removing this item from the agenda? Please. Please. Who is against? Abstentions? So the result is 16 for, against 59, abstentions 4. So the motion was rejected.
So we now consider the supplementary item.
So now, dear friends, dear colleagues, and once again, I'd like to apologize for this lengthy discussion, but you saw, this is also part of democracy, what we can do. Now we will consider this resolution as a whole. Anybody is against this? No, the case. And now we are voting for the resolution as a whole. No objections? No, thank you. Resolution is adopted. Another, ongoing violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol, Ukraine. Is the Assembly content to consider this resolution as a whole?
Sweden.
You have a different point, Christian, please.
Using which supplementary item we are discussing, because this is the resolution promoted by us from Sweden. The other one that actually comes after violation of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the Russian Federation is the Swedish one. The next one is the Ukrainian one, and I thought that we should be able to speak. I regret that the Russian delegation couldn't behave more than that they leave the plenary when they are not satisfied with the procedures. But our supplementary item actually had 33 signatures and from 17 countries. And maybe not everyone is here, but it's very clear. And I would wish that the Russian delegation would put as much effort into promote democratic values and defend human rights in their home country as they do in trying to disturb the debate and discussion in this plenary.
Thank you very much, dear Christian. So Russian delegation at this moment is not all of them, the whole. But according to your question, so we are moving according our agenda here, and how is the order in this paper and in the agenda. So they refer to both supplementary items, so there might be a little bit confusion for you, but it's another case at this moment. So we have precisely the order, and then we're, the voting according to that. Again, so the resolution for consideration as a whole resolution, may we vote for that? No, it's It's about you. It's a no objection. It's a no objection. No. So then it's approved. And now, dear colleagues, we will now consider the Berlin Declaration as a whole. Is there any objections to Berlin Declaration as a whole document? No. Then Berlin Declaration is adopted. Thank you very much for your good work. And so now we are getting to another point of our agenda, announcement of the results of the elections. And I'd like to call Ms. Margareta Kienan-Nellen, our chief teller, to announce results of elections.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, I have the honor to first confirm that the elections were conducted in accordance with the Assembly's rules of procedure. And I have now the pleasure to proclaim the results of the elections for our Assembly officers as they took place. First of all, the function of President of our Assembly. According to Article 5, Paragraph 4 of our Rules of Procedure, Mr. George Tsereteli from Georgia is elected President by acclamation until the end of the 2019 session.
Thank you very much.
In the elections for vice presidents, 4 candidates have received votes the following. Mr. Pascal Alizard received 74 votes. I go by alphabetical order. Lord Peter Baunes received 91 votes. Ms. Kari Henriksen received 78 votes. Mr. Christian Vigenin received 78 votes. There were no spoiled ballots. Therefore, Lord Peter Baunes, Ms. Kari Henriksen, and Mr. Christian Vigenin are elected vice presidents for 3 years until the end of the 2021 session. And Mr. Pascal Alizard is elected vice president for 2 years until the end of the 2020 session. Thank you.
So thank you, dear Margareta. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your great support and trust. Very much thankful, and I'd like also to congratulate all our vice presidents, and I'd like to wish good luck to all of them. And I'd like to also, before I will make my short remarks, finally at this session, I'd like also to announce our committee officers. And you already voted for them. For the first committee, Filippo Lombardi from Switzerland is elected as a chair, Sofia Katsarava from Georgia, vice chair, and Alan Farrell, Ireland, as a rapporteur. In the second committee, Neil Sassena from Portugal as a chair, Artur Gerasimov from Ukraine, vice chair, and Elona Hoja Gibia from Albania as a rapporteur. In the third committee, Margareta Kienan-Nellen in Switzerland as a chair, Michael Georg Link from Germany as a vice chair, and Kyriakos Hadjivani from Cyprus as a rapporteur. So once again, welcome to Bureau, and I wish you all the best. And also I'd like for 1 minute to ask maybe Doris, I'm sorry, you'd like to say something before I will make my remarks? Just to keep you just maybe 10 minutes more and that's it. Please.
Oh no, let's make it 10.
No, it's for me. That's for you.
Ich möchte mich nochmal bei allen, die hier teilgenommen haben, bedanken für die gute, wenn auch kontroverse Diskussion. Das ist wichtig. Demokratie muss harte Diskussionen aushalten können, sonst ist es sie nicht wert. Sonst sind wir da, wo wir alle nicht hinwollen, nämlich in Autokratien. Und deswegen vielen Dank für die guten Diskussionen, auch wenn nicht alle sehr glücklich darüber sind. Aber so ist es mal in Demokratien. Ich möchte mich vor allem nochmals bei den Mitarbeitern des Sekretariats von Kopenhagen und Wien bedanken, aber auch bei den vielen Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeitern und zusätzlichen Kräften hier des Deutschen Bundestages, bei der Bundestagsverwaltung, die einen fantastischen Job gemacht hat. Aber ganz zum Schluss, lieber George, möchte ich mich auch bei dir ganz persönlich bedanken für deine gute Führung. Du bist ein sehr umtriebiger, fleißig sagt man zu den Mitarbeitern, aber zum Präsident sagt man nicht fleißig, das sagt man umtriebiger Präsident, der eine tolle Arbeit macht in unser aller Namen. Und ich wünsche dir jetzt viel, viel Kraft und uns allen, die wir zum Teil neu gewählt worden sind, zum Teil bestätigt wurden, viel Kraft für die mit Sicherheit nicht leichten vor uns liegenden Aufgaben und freue mich auf ein weiteres gutes Jahr für unsere Versammlung. Und natürlich habe ich auch ein klitzekleines Geschenk für unseren Präsidenten, nämlich er kriegt eines dieser Helferhemden und dieser Helfermützen vom Deutschen Bundestag. Ich denke, als kleine Erinnerung kann er das gut gebrauchen. Herzlichen Dank.
So, dear friends, my dear colleagues, first of all, very, short personal note. Of course, I'm very much happy, and I feel I have this great feeling that I have this trust and support from you, and also it's a great responsibility for me. And I will try to be, your friend, representing Assembly, and be also active. It might be a little bit challenging to have a very active president, but we have to do that, and thank you very much for great support. Dear friends, dear parliamentarians, we have just adopted a very strong Berlin Declaration to guide our work in weeks, months, and years ahead. We have engaged in lively debates, identified problems facing the OSCE area and the world, offered ideas and solutions, and in some cases we have criticized each other. Criticism is not always enjoyable, and a president's also experiencing it quite often, but like a bitter medicine, sometimes it must be swallowed for the sake of your health. What everyone should remember is that when we criticize each other, it's not baseless, and it's grounded in the OSCE principles, first of all. And together we must continue to uphold our principles and work together, but try to be constructive. And you saw example here today, it was a quite harsh debate, but we try to be constructive and listen to each other towards our objectives. That's the main thing. And first of all, to serve our people. There's a main interest of all of you here, to serve our people. And of course, we must also ensure that this forum, OSCE and its Parliamentary Assembly, remains strong. This organization has great value in the areas that it can have the most impact. And this is why I strongly support Secretary General Gramminger's agenda, and we heard about this today, of making the OSCE fit for purpose. We must also carry on with our own framework and homework and implement the necessary reforms to enhance the visibility and effectiveness of our Assembly and ensure it remains the respected institution that it's today. Our proactive, and I'm really thankful, Roberto, to you outlining very well our purpose, our proactive and transparent engagement is necessary to maintain the integrity of our work in all fields, especially in election observation, or it could be gender mainstreaming, and of course, peace and confidence building. We should all work to strengthen the OSCE, including by implementing the principles and communicating its messages to our governments and the people of our home countries. We must let people know the value of this organization and why it matters. The Parliamentary Assembly also must continue to pursue good cooperation with the OSCE's executive structures. I was very happy to see almost all of them here participating in different side events and contributing to the process. And we hope that the OSCE also will make full use of the vast experience and knowledge of our parliamentarians. My dear colleagues, our work now is to ensure effective steps toward implementation of our resolutions. As always, I'm at your disposal, and I thank you once again for the faith you have placed in me as a president of this Assembly. And thank you very much, really. It has been an honor and privilege to work in this beautiful and historic building the past several days. Like so much in Berlin, the Reichstag really combines the old with the new, and in a way that reminds us of our history, and also while we're celebrating our future. To paraphrase a great politician, today we speak about wars and politics so that our children can dedicate their time to arts and sciences. On behalf of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the German Bundestag and the German delegation for the excellent organization of this annual session. Of course, there are so many people involved in the organization of a meeting like this. I will really feel very, very, privileged to wear that T-shirt, which our ushers and the people around us had as a sign of great help here and appreciation. And of course, all the people behind the scenes who provided technical and logistical support. The interpreters who have worked long hours. Thank you. And the people who make sure that all our meeting rooms and different venues are well equipped, and of course, photographers and the IT specialists who have worked very hard. The enthusiasm and goodwill they brought to their jobs has made this successful, our Assembly, this session, very successful and memorable event. Let us all give them a warm round of applause again. And my dear friends, thank you once again. The 27th annual session is closed now. All the best.
1 minute before closing it, point of order.
Oh, it's another...
We would like to ask all the members of the Bureau also to come forth here. We would like to take a family picture with the members of the Bureau. But in line, I know that we've had T-shirts for some of the members. We have one for you, Mr. President, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially you, Roberto, and our Secretariat, Vienna and Copenhagen. So, wish you all the best and all the success to our Assembly and all of you. Thank you.
Michael, Filippo.